As for the sea establishment realm powerhouses at the forefront, they had already rushed into the sky in the blink of an eye. The sea establishment realm powerhouses from the city of wanderers who had come to attack the city were dumbfounded. Are you really here to fight? They only have 50 sea establishers in total. But you have sent 70,000 sea establishers. Are you serious? Among the 50 or so sea establishment realm powerhouses, there were 4 human beings. At this moment, they had already turned around and charged at the 10,000 scale race sea establishers. Unfortunately, their speed was still not fast enough. Before the people of the 7-kill army could completely rush over, those who were fast had already killed more than 50 sea establishers. All this happened in the blink of an eye. How long would it take for 70,000 to fight 50? The latter were wiped out in less than half a second. The sea establishers of the 10,000 scale race, the Blade clan, and the Frogman race didn't even have time to react before they died. They didn't even have time to feel despair. The Venerable's battlefield was also in the sky. At this moment, because the humans in the Heavenly Wave City rebelled, the number of the human Venerables on Han Fei's side soared to more than 500,000, while the Heavenly Wave City's Venerable army only had less than 200,000 left. This was almost a 3-on-1 battle. In addition, Han Fei had left many inherited great techniques to the raging sea, so the situation was also one-sided. Puff. 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 One after another, blood color bloomed in the sky above the Heavenly Wave City. F*CK, slow down. That's my opponent. At a time like this, what's the difference between your opponent and mine? This is our common opponent. F*CK, who can save one for me? I haven't fought with these guys yet. Are they strong? It's your fault for being so slow. There are so few people here. You have to be quick to get one to fight. Don't touch him. He is mine. Puff. Damn, I told you not to touch him. On the battlefield of the Venerables, the situation was one-sided. As for the battlefields for explorers, they were mostly held at the low altitude above the Heavenly Wave City. This was even crazier than the battles in the Sea Establishment realm and the Venerable realm. There were only less than 2 million people in the Heavenly Wave City. After deducting the more than 300,000 Venerables, there were only 1.7 million people left. Even if half of the more than 1.7 million people were human beings, there were less than 1 million from the 10,000 scale race, the Blade clan, and the Frogman race. 10 million people fighting 1 million people had made this battle a 10 against 1 fight. It was even difficult for the humans to find someone to fight. Someone shouted angrily, "Stop it. Can't you leave me an opponent? Are you crazy? There's still the next city. What are you scrambling for? Heh, you're the one who scrambles most fiercely. How can you blame others?" In the Heavenly Wave City, in addition to explorers, there were also people below explorers. These people were actually not very interested. Someone was even hesitant. These people aren't even explorers. Wouldn't I be bullying them if I attack? You're too soft-hearted. This is a war between races. These things have enslaved our human race for 100,000 years. Do you know how long that was? Do you still sympathize with them? But the humans weren't enslaved by these people. That's bulls***. Under the tide, no drop of water is innocent. Didn't you hear what Master Human Emperor said? Exterminate the 10,000 scale race. And spare no one. Is it the right time for you to show compassion? If you can't make it, get lost. The humans were slaughtering crazily, and the 10,000 scale race, the Frogmen, and the Blade Clan people in the Heavenly Wave City were all stunned. They didn't know how to fight back at all. Someone even scolded angrily, "Villain, you are all villains. All of you are murderers. How dare you slaughter the weak? You even killed children below the law enforcement realm. Are you still human?" However, the enslaved humans in the chaotic wasteland had already been on a killing spree. How dare you mention slaughtering the weak to us? Do you know how to care about children? Why don't you care about the children of our human race? Our human race has been enslaved for 100,000 years. Countless humans have died in battles year after year. Have you ever sympathized with us? Now you say we are villains. Are you qualified? Kill. Puff. 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 Han Fei looked at all of this indifferently. What he wanted was to slaughter everyone in the city except for the humans. In this kind of race war, there was no mercy to speak of. The humans in the chaotic wasteland had been suppressed for too long. They hated the 10,000 scale race, hated everything about the 10,000 scale race, and the torture they had once suffered must be repaid today. Only in this way could the fire in their hearts be ignited, their hope be ignited, the knots in their hearts be resolved, their Tao heart be strengthened, their value be fulfilled, and this trial of the entire human race be finished. As for the human powerhouses in the Heavenly Wave City, someone killed their enemy with his own hands, and said with tears in his eyes, "Dad, Mom, I've finally avenged you. My son, your father is finally not weak anymore." In less than half an hour, the Heavenly Wave City had turned into ruins. There was no complete wall here. Everything that could be taken here had disappeared. Without a trace. Not a blade of grass grew, as if locusts had passed through this city. Someone picked up a pile of clean stones and pondered, wondering what they were for. Someone got energy crystals and was overjoyed to sense a large amount of ownerless soul power. Someone found some weapons and happily replaced his old weapons with them. Han Fei didn't pay attention to what they were doing anymore. At this time, Crabbling Fei had come to Han Fei respectfully. "My lord, Lady Duanqingxi has ordered us to go with you if you show up." Han Fei nodded slightly. "Enter my origin star later." Han Fei shouted, "My fellow human beings, time is pressing. There may still be some resources left here, but it's not important. We still have the next city to conquer. There are a total of 132 cities like this one. The one you've just conquered is the weakest one, and the next one will only be stronger. Now, open your mind and enter my origin star. Let's go to the next city. Master Human Emperor, we are ready." "Haha, there are 131 more. How many treasures are there? I hope the next city can be stronger. Otherwise, it won't be a challenge at all. I feel that I must make a breakthrough after this race war." Of course, some were aggressive, and some were conservative. Some people felt that Han Fei had gone too far. After all, there were millions of people here, and he had slaughtered them without leaving a single survivor. Wasn't this too cruel? However, Han Fei couldn't consider everyone's emotions. If these people lived in the former chaotic wasteland for a period of time, they might want to destroy the 10,000 scale race more than anyone else. Han Fei didn't care what the humans were thinking now. He only knew that his power of faith was soaring crazily. This power of faith was so rich that it had formed a drop of liquid in his body and even showed signs of condensing into a bead. Han Fei didn't know what it was, but it could actually materialize. But now was not the time for him to study this. It only took Han Fei less than half an hour to take everyone to the 131st city, Mystic Ice City. The situation in the Mystic Ice City was similar to that in the Heavenly Wave City. This city had a population of 300,000 or 400,000 more. 1 city. 2 cities. 3 cities. In just one day, Han Fei destroyed a total of 21 cities. The people of the 10,000 scale race and its affiliated races who had died at the hands of the human army numbered as many as 30 million. And this was the result after the destruction of only 21 cities. There were still more than 100 cities behind. In just one day, the number of human venerables had increased from only 300,000 to more than 400,000. There were countless human powerhouses below the explorer level. On this day, 21 sky-opening realm powerhouses died, but they weren't killed by Han Fei, but by the powerhouses of the 7-kill army. Although sky-openers were strong, how could the top powerhouse of the 7-kill army not be strong? Therefore, the next day, Han Fei destroyed 27 cities. On the third day, the human race destroyed 17 cities. On the fourth day, the human race destroyed 15 cities. During this period, there were only 2 cities that were exceptions. One was the 80th ranked mountain city, whose lord was Shui Fei, and the other was the 68th city, whose lord was Feng Tianyi. These 2 people were both Han Fei's puppets. They had escaped with some people. On the 5th day, Han Fei had just arrived at the dual polarity city ranked 50th, but it seemed that the city lord had already evacuated with his people. But at this moment, Han Fei hadn't saved the entire human race yet. Han Fei knew that the 10,000 scale monarch wasn't really giving in. He seemed to be trying to force him to surrender with the humans in his hands. When he arrived at the dual polarity city and saw the huge empty city, he already had an answer in his heart. The 10,000 scale monarch didn't give up fighting. He just gave up the cities ranking below the 50th. This meant that the people in the top 50 cities should have all gone to the main city of the city of scavengers or other places, but they definitely had been gathered. The 10,000 scale monarch knew that he couldn't attack casually, so he gathered all his men to start a large-scale ethnic war against the human race. Although Han Fei had conquered 82 cities in a row, so what? All the non-human beings had been killed. Among the humans rescued, there were only 989 human sea establishers. There were 24 million venerables, but not many compared to the number of venerables in the main city or the top 10 cities of the city of scavengers. In the top 50 cities of city of scavengers, there were nearly 50 million venerables, and there were still at least 30 million venerables deducting the human venerables. Earlier, the human race had swept through the 82 cities with absolute numerical superiority. However, in the next cities, they would no longer have a numerical superiority. It was very likely that they would be crushed by the other party. Therefore, the slaughtering carnival had come to an end. What was next would only be bloody battles. In the battle of race extermination, Han Fei showed absolute ruthlessness and coldness. He showed his attitude to everyone. Those who offended the human race had to pay with their lives. There was no humanitarianism to speak of. In just 5 days, actually more than 4 days, the human powerhouses from the raging sea and the humans in the chaotic wasteland that Han Fei rescued had participated in battles 82 times. For the humans from the raging sea, the 10,000 scale race, the Blade clan, and the frogmen didn't look like humans. So they were dealt with as sea demons. The humans didn't have the heart to slaughter everyone in a city if the other party was humans. But sea demons were different. They had been fighting sea demons for 100,000 years, so they wouldn't show any mercy to sea demons. As for the people in the chaotic wasteland, they were completing the trial of their souls. As long as the human race was liberated in this battle, their future achievements were hard to say. Therefore, in the past 4 days, everyone had been fighting crazily. Wherever the human army passed, even the walls were torn apart. At this moment, killing intent soared in Han Fei's origin star. This killing intent came from the death of hundreds of millions of enemies. With this will, many people even made a breakthrough. In fact, Han Fei had a headache too, because too many people had made breakthroughs in the past 4 days. There were nearly 80 venerables who broke through to sea establishers. Most of them were originally from the chaotic wasteland. After being rescued by Han Fei, their hope was rekindled, so they naturally made a breakthrough. Of course, Han Fei didn't let them make a breakthrough in his origin star, but threw them all into the sea of stars. Huff. Han Fei took out dozens of star cores and fused them into his origin star. There were too many people in his origin star. With so many people consuming energy crazily, Han Fei had to consume at least dozens of star cores every day and pour a huge amount of spiritual energy into his origin star to meet the basic expenses of these people. Of course, he had to maintain the spiritual energy concentration in his origin star. After all, he was the dignified human emperor. Otherwise, wouldn't it be awkward if these people found that there was no spiritual energy here after staying in his origin star for 2 or 3 days? Almost all the people in the dual polarity city had gone and all the supplies had been taken away. What was left here was a sky-opening realm powerhouse. From the city of wanderers, as well as nearly 90 sea establishment realm powerhouses. There were no venerables here. In the city's ranking among the top 50, no matter how many venerables came, it didn't make much sense. Therefore, the city of wanderers simply didn't send any venerables. At this moment, when the sky opener saw Han Fei, he hurried over and cupped his hands. "Are you Master Han Fei?" Han Fei glanced at him casually. "I am the human emperor." The man's heart skipped a beat, and cold sweat broke out on his forehead. He thought that this person's aura was really terrifying, but he really didn't want to acknowledge the human emperor in front of him. Although he knew that this person was very strong and had launched the human race's counterattack. He felt that their city of wanderers had also made great contributions, and the Master of Silence was still very great. Besides, they had always regarded the Master of Silence as the human emperor. How could they easily acknowledge Han Fei as the human emperor? Therefore, this person didn't mention this but said, "All the strong masters of the dual polarity city have left by force. After all, our number is limited. Although I want to stop them, if they really want to escape, I can't stop them." Han Fei nodded slightly. "Enter my origin star." After a while, when Han Fei came to the next city, there was still no one here. He still accepted a group of strong masters from the city of wanderers. Originally, Han Fei's plan was that the people from the city of wanderers dispersed to the various cities to restrain the power of the city, so they were mostly in the sky opening realm and sea establishment realm. However, it was almost impossible for them to take down a city. The next 10, 20, 30, and 40 cities were all empty. When Han Fei finally entered the area where the top 10 cities were, it was still empty. And this place was not far from where the 10,000 scale monarch was confronting the Queen of Horror, Li Luoluo, and the others. Anyway, Han Fei went out and brought back hundreds of millions of people, which was actually quite a victory. After Han Fei entered this area, a voice rang in his ears. Have you vented your anger? You slaughtered the people of 82 cities in a row and killed hundreds of millions of 10,000 scale race people. I wonder if you can sit down and talk nicely now? Han Fei didn't look for the source of the voice. He just sneered. Which eye of yours saw hundreds of millions of casualties of the 10,000 scale race? In the cities, the number of the 10,000 scale race people is usually less than 1/10. The rest are mostly the human race, the Blade clan, and the Frogman race. I slaughtered hundreds of millions of people of the 10,000 scale race? How do you have the cheek to say this? The 10,000 scale monarch said, the current human emperor, don't forget that the truly densely populated places are not those cities you destroyed. Now, a large number of your human race's population is still in my hands. If the 10,000 scale race is wiped out, what's the point for me to keep the lives of these humans? The 10,000 scale monarch was fearless now. He believed that he had given in enough. If Han Fei hadn't summoned the god and destroyed the city of origin, he wouldn't have let Han Fei slaughter the 82 cities. Now, since the god didn't take action, even if Han Fei still had the trump card of great monarch mystic martial, he wasn't afraid. No one could kill him. But a god. Besides, Han Fei's human emperor path was to save the human race. He believed that Han Fei would eventually agree with his choice. At that time, although he would lose the resources of the human race, the city of origin had been wiped out. Without a monarch, the remaining people in the city of origin would naturally become his new slaves. Furthermore, in his opinion, the potential of these slaves far exceeded that of the human race. Therefore, at this moment, the 10,000 scale monarch was negotiating with Han Fei again. He felt that Han Fei had no choice but to agree. Han Fei hurried along without speaking, his face solemn, as if he was considering the proposal of the 10,000 scale monarch. Seeing this, the 10,000 scale monarch didn't rush him. After a long while, he said, as I said before, I'll set your human race free. We'll stop fighting and mind our own business from now on. You can walk your human emperor path, and we'll still live in the chaotic wasteland. I can even share the chaotic wasteland with your human race and share the secrets behind it. Han Fei still didn't speak. In the end, several hours later, he returned to the confrontation place tens of millions of kilometers away from the city of scavengers. At this moment, the army of Puppet City was still fighting the sky-opening realm army of the 10,000 scale race. The battle between the two sides had already lasted for the 4th day. The result of the battle surprised Han Fei. About 80,000 of the 200,000 puppet army had died, while only about 50,000 of the 10,000 scale race's sky opening realm army had died. This was because the puppet army's bodies were made of minerals and their physique was very powerful. Furthermore, the puppet army was generally in the peak-level late-stage star transformation realm, and Their true combat power was comparable to that of perfected star transformation realm cultivators. Otherwise, they might have suffered much more casualties. It could be seen that the 10,000 scale race army did gain an advantage in cultivation from that secret place in the chaotic wasteland, which made them extremely good at fighting. At this moment, the 10,000 scale race's sky-opening realm army had gradually equalized the numerical gap between the two sides. If the battle continued, the puppet army would definitely be at a disadvantage in no more than 2 days. And once they were at a disadvantage, the subsequent battle process would be very fast, which meant that the puppet army would be quickly defeated. Therefore, Han Fei knew that he couldn't delay any longer. He knew the intention of the 10,000 scale monarch. He could accept it even if only 50,000 of the 10,000 scale race's sky-opening realm powerhouses survived, because there was still the city of origin. As long as he won this time, he would drive the human race away, and the city of origin would fall into his hands. The sky-opening realm combat power of the city of origin would all belong to him, and it would bring huge hidden dangers to the human race in the future. The 10,000 scale monarch knew this very well, so he threw out the last card the moment he saw Han Fei. He said, "The current human emperor, if you are willing to stop now, I can give up the city of origin. Whether you exterminate or enslave the people of the city of origin, the city of scavengers will never interfere. This is my greatest sincerity. Otherwise, if this battle continues for another 2 days, and the city of scavengers suffers heavy losses, it will be another story." At this moment, everyone was looking at Han Fei. The Queen of Horror, Li Luoluo, Old Han, his mother, and Gu Tingnan were all waiting for Han Fei's response. Although Gu Tingnan wanted to destroy the 10,000 scale race, he knew that he was powerless. And Han Fei had already shown great potential. He had really stalled the 10,000 scale emperor and destroyed all the monarchs in the city of origin. In his opinion, it was already incredible that Han Fei could do this. He said telepathically, "It's already a huge victory to save the human race. Now you've even destroyed the city of origin. You've done enough." It was no wonder that Gu Tingnan thought so, because most of the humans that the 10,000 scale race enslaved were still under his control. This forced Han Fei to be cautious. Even if Han Fei had the strength comparable to the 10,000 scale monarch, could he snatch people from the origin stars of the sky openers? Although these people were not in the hands of the 10,000 scale monarch, they were in the hands of the city lords of the 10,000 scale race, which made no difference. The city lords could kill those humans in their origin stars with a single thought. If that happened, Han Fei human emperor path might even be severed. There was silence here. Han Fei pondered for a long time and suddenly grinned. "Someone from the city of origin once threatened me." "What did I say back then?" "Oh, I said that I hate being threatened the most, even if you are a great monarch." Then Han Fei looked at Li Luoluo. Receiving Han Fei's gaze, Li Luoluo giggled and a jade slip shattered. At that moment, in the main city of the city of scavengers, the bodies of the former city lord of the 80th city, Feng Tianyi, and the city lord of the 68th city, Shui Fei, suddenly cracked. In an instant, a white light enveloped the city of scavengers. More than 130 sky-opening realm powerhouses in the city were pierced by this light at the same time. "How dare you!" 10,000 scale monarch expression changed drastically. The moment the White light appeared, he tore through the sky with a claw, and as if ignoring the void, he went straight to the city of scavengers thousands of kilometers away. Roar. With a tiger's howl, a huge tiger-head phantom that could cover half of the city appeared in the sky above the city of scavengers. A mouthful of white smoke collided with the hand of 10,000 scale monarch, producing terrifying ripples that directly blew up the super protective barrier of the city of scavengers, causing half of the city to collapse. With just this blow, the hundreds of thousands of people closest to the attack range of the 10,000 scale race were directly shaken into ashes. Fortunately, the tiger roar blocked this blow. Otherwise, half of the city of scavengers would have been destroyed by the 10,000 scale monarch himself. Roar. In the city of scavengers, the smoke dissipated, and an iron tower giant with a tiger head and a human body stood in place without moving at all. On his shoulder sat a woman who had almost completely transformed into a human. The woman was wearing a long slit dress, and her slender long legs were crossed. Half of her body was stuck to the tiger demon's head, and two furry little ears were erected on her head. She looked gentle and charming. And behind her, there was even a furry tail. A fox? From the shape of the tail, Han Fei confirmed that it was a fox demon. Since it could participate in such a battlefield, its strength couldn't be weak. The tiger demon spat softly in human language. We've waited so long and finally made an appearance. Master of the Emperor Sparrow, we've fulfilled your request. With me here, no one in your human race will die. The fox demon giggled and said in a charming voice, I didn't expect this trip to be so free of challenges. I didn't expect that you only want me to charm a few weaklings in the sky-opening realm. It's boring. The tiger demon said, okay. Let's just take it as a tour. The 10,000 scale monarch gnashed his teeth and said, Great monarch. Level powerhouses from the divine beast lineage? You should be incompatible with the ferocious beasts. Why did you interfere in the war between the 10,000 scale race and the human race? The fox smiled sweetly. Well, there are no absolutes. It's just a deal. Besides, are we interfering? We're just passing by and worried that you'll bully the weak. Yes, that's it. Han Fei didn't know if the fox was infuriating the 10,000 scale monarch. But it didn't matter. Anyway, the human race had been saved, and Han Fei had nothing to worry about anymore. Han Fei cupped his hands at the tiger demon and the fox demon. Seniors, please fetch our human race out. The tiger demon reached for the void, and void nodes opened one after another. Then, a large number of human powerhouses in the chaotic wasteland appeared. There were more than 98 million of them in total, nearly 100 million. The fox demon smiled and said, according to our deal, we'll just help you save the humans. We won't help you fight. Because you haven't proven your value yet. Han Fei said, don't worry. You don't need to fight. The humans who appeared in the sky above the city of scavengers all looked at each other in bewilderment. They could still feel the terrifying pressure around them and the power wreaking havoc here. In addition to this pressure in the sky, because more than 130 sky-opening realm powerhouses had just died. The sky was filled with blood at this moment, like colorful neon lights floating. Han Fei crossed thousands of kilometers in 1 second and came to the city of scavengers. While these humans were still confused and stunned, he said, my fellow humans, I am Human Emperor Han Fei. Under your feet is the city of scavengers. which has now become a ruin. Today, I'm here to help you escape the misery and the enslavement of the 10,000 scale race. Now, except for you, I have saved all the humans in the entire chaotic wasteland. Yes, this is the city of scavengers. I'm sure I've been here before. Wow, the city of scavengers is really destroyed? Human emperor? Our human race has an emperor? The nearly 100 million people were all dumbfounded. A few days ago, they were taken into the city Lord's origin star. They had all guessed that something bad would happen. But now, they were all shocked. The human emperor? He came to save the human race? That was too sudden. It was like when a person was about to be sent to the execution ground. Someone suddenly came to him and said, "You are my long-lost family. In order to make it up to you, I'll give you $1 billion. That was what most people felt. Apart from that, it was the 3 questions from their hearts. Am I free? Am I really free? Am I suddenly free? Of course, most people were still skeptical. Such a good thing had never happened to humans once in 100,000 years. How could it happen this time? But Han Fei didn't bother to explain anything to them. Around Han Fei, world phantoms appeared one after another, and hundreds of millions of human beings appeared like dark clouds covering the sun. This time, Han Fei released many people. Not only had he released the sea establishers, venerables, and explorers in the chaotic wasteland along the way, but there were also hundreds of millions of explorers from the raging sea. Of course, there was no need to release so many at once. After all, the battle of the strong could easily affect them. Therefore, he only released 100 million explorers. In the end, a total of 277 sky openers came out of Han Fei's origin star, including those from the City of Wanderers. Among them, there were 132 from the 7-Kill Army, 132 from the City of Wanderers, and 13 from the Raging Sea. Han Fei didn't use the Lava Giant Tribe or Wang Xiaojiao and the others. Because he released too many humans, the situation was completely reversed. What if the 10,000 scale monarch felt that his race was going to be exterminated and fought to the death? In addition to the sky openers, there were a total of 70,000 sea establishing realm soldiers, including 3,400 people from the City of Wanderers, 466 from the chaotic wasteland, and 119 from the raging sea. As for the number of venerables, there were as many as 24 million. And there were hundreds of millions of explorers. When so many people appeared above the city of scavengers, the entire city of scavengers was almost covered. Down below, in the City of Wanderers, everyone was on guard. The death of more than 130 monarchs had killed all the sky-opening realm powerhouses in the city of scavengers. Therefore, facing so many strong masters of the human race at this moment, many people were almost desperate. Because the City of Scavengers had limited space, not all the sky-opening realm powerhouses released the people in their origin stars. As a result, the City of Scavengers was not only suppressed in the number of sea establishers, but also equaled the human race in the number of venerables. Perhaps they had 1 million people more than the other party, but in front of this huge population, 1 million people was not a lot. More importantly, their sea establishers and explorers were no match for the humans at all. And could these sea establishers just sit by and watch their venerables die? Of course not, so sea establishers would definitely be involved in the battle of the venerables. Not to mention the people in the City of Scavengers, even the human powerhouses released by Han Fei were also stunned. When had they ever fought a war of this scale? Han Fei shouted, "My fellow humans, the 10,000 scale race that oppressed and enslaved you in the past is right below. This huge city of scavengers has enslaved you for 100,000 years. Now, it's time to fight back. Everyone, find your own battlefield and fight your own battles. This battle is a battle to take back the dignity of the human race. This is a battle for your revenge. This is a battle to break your inner demons. This is a critical battle on your cultivation paths. If we win this battle, our human race will be invincible. And I have my own battle too. I want to tell all the races in the world that whoever offends our human race will be killed." Han Fei roared the last sentence. His voice shook the sky and the earth like thunder, exploding in everyone's ears. Long live the human emperor. How many years has it been? Our human race can finally take revenge. The 10,000 scale race enslaved our human race. They deserve to die. We must win this battle. We can't lose. Master Human Emperor has already won. Too much for us. We will definitely not let him down. Kill. Bula. At this moment, Han Fei looked at the 10,000 scale monarch. As I said, I hate being threatened the most. Do you still have any cards? The 10,000 scale monarch face changed greatly. He didn't have any cards left. This time, he was defeated. He guessed that Han Fei might have a trump card. And he was sure that this trump card was definitely not a god. Otherwise, there was no need to fight. He would just surrender. Therefore, he thought that even if Han Fei's trump card was a great monarch, so what? Logically speaking, it was impossible for him not to sense it. Once he noticed it, it was impossible for the other party to break into the city of scavengers under his nose, kill so many sky-opening realm powerhouses, and snatch his chips. However, he really didn't expect that this divine beast tiger and fox didn't appear from the void. They actually appeared from the bodies of two sky-opening realm powerhouses. But even great monarch-level powerhouses couldn't find the origin stars of a sky-opening realm powerhouse so quickly. Therefore, there could only be one result, which was that the two people who died first weren't actually murdered. They voluntarily used themselves as a bridge to pass through the quagmire of the Sea of Stars, detonate their origin stars, and create a void channel. And great monarch-level powerhouses, or all monarch-level powerhouses, could actually descend through this channel. This was something that the 10,000 scale monarch never expected. He didn't expect that someone else's puppet would be right under his nose. However, it was too late for regrets. His chips were gone, and Han Fei certainly wouldn't stop now. The Queen of Horror, who had been watching the whole time, was amazed. This was the first time in hundreds of thousands of years that the human race had shown its powerful strength. She was also surprised that the divine beasts and the ferocious beasts cooperated. This was simply unheard of. These two powers had always been at odds with each other, but now this iron rule was broken. Because of Han Fei, it undoubtedly made her feel that she had made the right decision. At this moment, the 10,000 scale monarch expression gradually turned indifferent, and his voice became thick. The current human emperor, it seems that you want to fight to the death with my city of scavengers? Heh. You'll die, but I won't. Han Fei stepped into the void and walked in the direction tens of millions of kilometers away unhurriedly. As he walked, he said, "Now, the 10,000 Scale race has two choices. The first is to start a full-scale war. You think. That is a great monarch, you might be able to fight me, right? However, let me put it bluntly, if you choose this path, you will definitely lose. My human emperor path has basically been completed at this moment. The human race has regained hope and will definitely rise. As for me, Han Fei, the current human emperor, the master of the Emperor Sparrow, and the disciple of the Void Temple, even if I can't beat you, I can kill you. Huh. The Queen of Horror Heart did a flip. Why did Han Fei introduce himself? Logically speaking, it was unnecessary. Since she knew Han Fei, although he had been high profile, he had never been as high profile as now. Something must be wrong. The Queen of Horror looked at the billions of human powerhouses and seemed to understand something. Why did Han Fei destroy the city of origin? Why did he fight to the death with the 10,000 scale monarch? Why did he announce his identity in such a high-profile manner? He even asked her to come over because he wanted to use her mouth to spread what happened in the chaotic wasteland today. He wanted to use the name of the Void Temple to protect the human race. Li Luoluo clicked her tongue in wonder. Sure enough, he's still the same. When he's high profile, he can be really high profile. The 10,000 scale monarch suddenly glared at Han Fei. He seemed to understand something. Why did the capital of horror take action? Why did the divine beasts and the ferocious beasts temporarily join forces? Why were so many monarchs gathered today? The reason was that Han Fei was the disciple of the Void Temple. The 10,000 scale monarch didn't doubt Han Fei's identity as a disciple of the Void Temple. Han Fei didn't want to lie to him about this. The 10,000 scale monarch asked, what about the second option? Han Fei said, the other way is to send someone out to fight me one by one. I want them to fight me one by one. Otherwise, I won't be able to fight them. I'll let go of anyone who can survive my attacks. The 10,000 scale monarch knew what Han Fei was thinking. Han Fei wanted to kill the strong masters of the 10,000 scale race one by one to better complete his foundation for Dao proving. In fact, in the eyes of the 10,000 scale monarch, Han Fei should already have the ability to prove Dao after saving all human beings. However, Han Fei was obviously not satisfied. He wanted to push his human emperor path to a new height. Although he had never walked the human emperor path, he was also a peak powerhouse of a race. He had once used the power of faith too, but the route he took was different from Han Fei's. 10,000 scale monarch looked at the two divine beasts and then glanced around. The other party now had a great monarch. Including Chu Hao, they had 3.5 immortal level monarchs. Although they didn't have many carefree level monarchs, one immortal level monarch was enough to crush all the carefree level monarchs. As for Dao provers, he didn't consider them. Because it was actually very simple to kill Dao provers in a chaotic battle of this level. Not every Dao proving level cultivator had so many trump cards like Han Fei. No matter how strong they were, they couldn't exert the power of the carefree level. Therefore, in this battle where even great monarchs were involved, they could only be cannon fodder. Even so, he wasn't sure if Han Fei still had any trump cards. The 10,000 scale monarch said, "Don't tell me you want to fight me." His words were full of disdain. Han Fei smiled casually. "Yes. I admit that I can't beat you. You're a great monarch, while I'm only in the perfected star transformation realm. Even if I Use all my strength, I might not be able to hurt you at all. However, it's none of your business. Do you dare to kill me? Like I said, except for those. At the Tao proving level, anyone can fight me one-on-one. It's my business who I can fight. If you don't accept my challenge, we can only start a group battle. You can choose either path. The 10,000 scale monarch said gloomily, do you think I'll believe you? Han Fei said, I'm the dignified, human emperor. How can I go back on my word? Of course, I'll fight my peers. The sky openers will fight the sky openers. The sea establishers will fight the sea establishers, and the venerables will fight the venerables. This is a race war. Do you think I'm kidding? 2733, killing 4 monarchs in a row, congratulations to the human race, 1. The conversation between Han Fei and 10,000 scale monarch echoed in the void. He wanted everyone to hear it. Otherwise, how could he show his strength and collect the power of faith? When he saved the humans in the chaotic wasteland and slaughtered the people in the cities under the city of scavengers one after another, Han Fei had deeply realized the change of power of faith. This was an indescribable power. It was not the power of the heavenly Tao or the law of the great Tao, but more like a power that stimulated the potential of different races. In other words, this power could stimulate the potential of a race and even transfer this potential to one person. This phenomenon was terrifying. With the potential of an entire race to help him cultivate, he naturally became the strongest of this race. Therefore, cultivating with the power of faith could make rapid progress. Besides, when he cultivated with the power of faith in the past, it would cause his foundation to be unstable if his cultivation speed was too fast. But now, Han Fei had already cultivated the supreme divine technique of the human race and the God-fiend formless technique. This could directly resolve this problem. This meant that if he proved Tao, his cultivation speed would only be even faster. Before the power of faith condensed into a bead, Han Fei didn't have this feeling. But now, the power of faith condensed into something like a pill bead in his body. Han Fei felt that once he released the power in this pill bead, he would probably immediately have to face the monarch-level tribulation. At this moment, Han Fei looked extremely domineering, launching a challenge to the 10,000 scale monarch as a victor. At least, that was what everyone present thought. However, only Han Fei knew that he hadn't finished his human emperor path yet. But he couldn't show it. He had saved the human race and restored their hope. This time, the war in the city of scavengers was their war. Only after experiencing the baptism of fire and killing their former enemies would their trial be over. As for Han Fei, he had only walked 70% of the human emperor path. This 70% was to subdue the human race, ignite their hope, and complete their trial. Han Fei felt old Han's gaze, who smiled and nodded. Here, only old Han and his mother knew Han Fei's real purpose. Han Fei crossed back in a second, looked at the million scales emperor proudly, and said indifferently, what's your choice? The 10,000 scale monarch looked solemn. Han Fei was trying to exterminate the 10,000 scale race and cut off his path. If a full-scale war broke out, he would definitely have no chance of survival. If the Void Temple really wanted to hunt him down, even if he escaped to the Sea of Stars, he wouldn't be able to escape their pursuit. As for the second option, this was really evil. Choosing this was equivalent to giving up the entire 10,000 scale race. However, he might still have a chance to survive. This was because as the dignified human emperor, the ruler of hundreds of millions of humans, and the spiritual leader of the human race, he couldn't go back on his word. Besides, there were so many monarchs watching here. Besides, no matter how many trump cards Han Fei had, the 10,000 scale monarch thought that he could only beat immortal-level cultivators at best. What could he use to fight those above the immortal level? Even with his entire brain power, the 10,000 scale monarch couldn't. Imagine how a perfected star transformation realm could kill an immortal level monarch. Even if the power given to him by a god could give him the combat power of an immortal level monarch, it wouldn't work. This was because Han Fei didn't have the comprehension of the immortal level at all. He didn't know how powerful the power of the law of this realm was. It was even more impossible for Han Fei to have a treasure of the great Emperor realm. There was a critical step between the immortal level and the Great Emperor realm, which was the divine path. To be able to enter the Great Emperor realm meant that one's divine path had been confirmed and he had already embarked on it. In the early age of the gods, monarchs were all at immortal level. It was not until later that the great monarch realm was derived. Therefore, could the great monarch level be classified as a demigod level? No power could allow mortals to have the power of a demigod, not even gods. Then let me see what level you can reach. In the end, the 10,000 scale monarch compromised. He had no choice. Han Fei had blocked all paths. His only way out was to abandon the 10,000 scale race. But as long as he didn't die, even if the 10,000 scale race was wiped out, it would only increase the difficulty of his divine tribulation. This was because his path was different from Han Fei's. Han Fei took the human emperor path. If the human race was gone, Han Fei's path would be severed, and he would definitely suffer a catastrophe during his tribulation. And his path didn't lie with the 10,000 scale race, but with himself. Therefore, he could afford the price of the 10,000 scale races destruction. Han Fei grinned and suddenly closed his eyes. On Han Fei's origin star, there were trillions of human beings, most of them from the raging sea. Compared to the humans in the chaotic wasteland, the humans from the raging sea could actually provide more power of faith. This was because their population was so large that any faction in the sea realm would be tempted. At this moment, these people were all discussing. Unfortunately, I'm too weak to even participate in the battle. If I were an explorer, I could go out and participate in the battle. Nonsense. I'm an explorer, a peak level 1. Did I go out? Master Human Emperor mainly let those people in the chaotic wasteland go out. After all, it's only satisfying to take revenge personally. 2734, killing 4 monarchs in a row. Congratulations to the human race, too. That's right. The humans in the chaotic wasteland have been enslaved for 100,000 years. How much hatred do they have? Let's not snatch this chance from them. Of course not. It's a pity that we don't have the chance to witness the victory of the human race. I really want to see how powerful Master Human Emperor is. Heh. Can you understand it even if he shows you? What level is Master Human Emperor at? I heard that he has even slain monarchs. Do you know what the monarch realm is? Master Human Emperor is the only one who can do that in the entire raging sea. Alas, that doesn't seem right. I heard that Master Human Emperor is still an emperor, but he can kill monarchs. Who did you hear that from? Oh, those tall and mighty lava giants. They're easy to communicate with. They even chased us and asked us to tell them stories. Tisk, really? They look so intimidating. I didn't even dare to come into contact with them. Hey, they're easy to get along with. Just as these people were discussing these messy things, they suddenly saw a mirror thing seen in the sky, which showed what was happening in the outside world. Huh? Where is this? Is this the outside world? Is this the sea realm? Why does this place look so barren? Barren my ass. Do you know how many resources those guys who participated in the battle snatched? In just 4 days, they snatched resources that the raging sea couldn't have accumulated for 10,000 years, and you're telling me it's barren? Huh? There are still people outside. I don't know them. Heh, how can you know such powerhouses? Suddenly, Han Fei's huge face appeared between the heavens and earth. Master Human Emperor? Is Master Human Emperor willing to let us out? Han Fei said, my fellow human beings, I said that I would show you the strength and potential of the human race. Now, I'm going to start slaying monarchs. I'll reflect the images of the outside world here. I might lose or die in this battle, but I want you to know that the human race has an unyielding will, an invincible faith, and a fearless heart. I hope that all of you can uphold hope and advance forward bravely to fight for the rise of the human race. My name is Han Fei. As long as I have one last breath, I will never give up my ambition. Han Fei's words sounded resolute, which might be a farewell to everyone. The people in the Origin Stars were wondering if Han Fei was going to lead them to attack, but they didn't expect to hear this. At that moment, everyone had a bad feeling, and their faces became extremely solemn. They thought that the human emperor must have encountered an extremely dangerous situation, or he wouldn't have motivated them in such a way. In fact, to them, Han Fei's words sounded more like his last words. Instantly, countless people burst into tears. Master Human Emperor, we will not let you down. Master Human Emperor, as long as there is life, there is hope. We have plenty of opportunities. You don't have to risk your life this time. Master Human Emperor, we're willing to fight. Even if we die, so what? When has our human race ever been afraid? Master Human Emperor, you must win. Master Human Emperor, we're still waiting for you to lead us to create a glorious world for the human race. Master Human Emperor. For a moment, all the human powerhouses in the Origin Star felt sad. Someone said, cheer up. Master Human Emperor is fighting for us. We should believe in Master Human Emperor. Master Human Emperor will definitely win. Master Human Emperor, you must win. Victory! Instantly, a tsunami-like sound echoed in the Origin Star, cheering Han Fei on. Even the hexagon starfish was moved by Han Fei's words. Is this bad guy really in danger? The hexagon starfish also shouted, you haven't given me any treasure yet. You haven't found Xiao Shaochan yet. You can't die. Little did the people in the Origin Star know that their shouts turned into wisps of power of faith and condensed in Han Fei's body. The latter was smiling faintly. Sure enough, humans were very emotional creatures. With just a few words, his power of faith soared again. If this went on, the beat of power of faith should be able to grow even stronger, right? Opposite Han Fei, there were a total of 2 immortal level powerhouses, 10 carefree level powerhouses, and 18 Tao-proving level powerhouses. Including the 10,000 scale monarch himself, there were 31 monarchs in total, including the 4 levels in the Monarch realm. And Han Fei had previously said that the Dao-proving level powerhouses didn't need to fight him one-on-one. Therefore, at this moment, the 18 Dao-proving level monarchs were all gathered together and seemed to be preparing to launch an attack at the same time. Han Fei stepped in the air, step by step, extremely firm. 5 locks appeared on his body. Crack. 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 The 5 locks shattered one after another, and Han Fei's momentum was also rapidly increasing. When the 5th lock was broken, Han Fei's body glowed faintly. Buzz. Han Fei looked at the sky. At the moment the Dao lock was broken, he felt that his monarch-level tribulation was approaching. However, at this point, he didn't care anymore. At this moment, Han Fei felt that he had never been so powerful. His basic combat power had already reached the upper limit of the sky-opening realm. His basic soul power had reached 99.99 origins, and the power of stars he had was the same. 2735, killing 4 monarchs in a row. Congratulations to the human race. 3. This was already stronger than the weakest Dao-proving level powerhouses. However, this was not enough. He activated his original Great Dao, and the aura on his body soared 6 times again. Han Fei waved his hand, and the god-slaying boxing gloves appeared on his hands. Then, every time Han Fei raised his foot, golden ripples could be seen. It was an act of power accumulation. The 18 Dao-proving level powerhouses knew that they had to fight. Although they didn't know Han Fei's true combat power, they knew that this person was not to be trifled with, judging from the tone with which he spoke to the 10,000 scale monarch. These people looked at each other. They knew that they couldn't let Han Fei accumulate power anymore. Suddenly, one of them shouted, "Kill!" These Dao-proving level powerhouses didn't dare to hold back. This was a critical battle concerning their survival. Instantly, 18 powers of laws covered this space. At the very least, they were at the Dao-proving level. Different from sky openers, they had the power of laws. In theory, they could completely crush sky openers. However, Han Fei clenched his fist and punched out. Looking at this from Han Fei's origin star, everyone felt that the punch was launched by him. Although everyone only saw a huge and dazzling fist light, if they took a closer look, they would find that wherever the punch passed, the void shattered and everything fell silent. Furthermore, the fist mark became bigger and bigger. It was not a fist mark, but a collapsing star. Bang! 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 The invisible power of laws in the space around Han Fei was shattered, and none of them could shake Han Fei's world-destruction fist. The onlookers all held their breath, wondering if they were Han Fei's match. The Queen of Horror looked at the shocked Wu Shuang and said, "Do you see that? This punch is almost as powerful as that of a carefree level powerhouse." In a normal battle, none of these Dao-proving level cultivators can withstand a single blow from him. Wu Shuang said, "It seems that he can ignore those laws and even shatter them." The Queen of Horror nodded. "Otherwise, how do you think he dares to challenge the 10,000 scale monarch? Without such a method, it would be difficult for him to even kill a Dao-proving level cultivator, let alone face 18 Dao-proving level powerhouses at once." Seeing that Han Fei could break the encirclement of their 18 powers of laws in a row even though he didn't have any power of the law, the 18 Dao-proving level powerhouses knew that they couldn't shake him with the power of laws, so they started to use great techniques. No matter how strong Han Fei was, he was alone. How could he block the intense bombardment of 18 people alone? The 18 people joined forces and launched many great techniques. The fist, light, spear light, knife light, and sword chi combined. Even a divine technique couldn't destroy the impact of so many strong masters at once. Rumble. Every time the 18 powerful attacks impacted the world destruction fist, they caused the void to shake, and one after another impact ripple was formed in the void. Even after the world destruction fist was penetrated, some of the remaining power still hit Han Fei. Yinyang Great Millstone. In front of Han Fei, a reversing black and white millstone appeared. The attacks were instantly shattered by the Yinyang millstone. Yinyang Great Tao? The onlookers were all slightly shocked. The Great Tao of Yin and Yang was also an extremely powerful Great Tao. Just based on this path, Han Fei's talent had instantly killed countless people. When these people's attacks were transformed by the Yinyang millstone, Han Fei shouted, "Fuse!" And this time, Han Fei didn't fuse with little black and little white. Instead, a pair of black wings grew out of his back. The moment this pair of black wings appeared, the fox demon, tiger demon, Li Luo Luo, and other strong masters of the ferocious beasts all perked up. Emperor Sparrow? Frenzying eye. As Han Fei glanced around, the other party's 3 people fell into madness. At the moment, Han Fei wasn't afraid of the backlash of attacking Tao proving level powerhouses, so the frenzying eye could completely affect these Tao proving level powerhouses. The 3 of them went mad and began to attack randomly. Just this scene alone made the fox demon click her tongue in wonder. As expected of the Emperor Sparrow. Although he hasn't proven Tao, he can instantly make 3 Tao proving level monarchs lose themselves. If he proved his Tao, he could probably make dozens of people below his realm go crazy. The tiger demon said, but his combat power is still not good enough now, and he has indeed become someone's companion spirit. I really don't understand why he chose to become a companion spirit. The fox demon said, perhaps he has found the path to become a god? This might be an attempt. Furthermore, this human emperor is a disciple of the Void Temple. In terms of identity, he's not inferior to the Emperor Sparrow. At the moment when Han Fei made the 3 people go crazy, he launched the void stealing technique to activate their soul, suppressing godly weapons. In the blink of an eye, the moment the 3 soul-suppressing godly weapons appeared, a Tai Chi Yin-Yang diagram appeared above one of them. Puff, puff, puff. As the Yin-Yang diagram revolved, this man's soul-suppressing godly weapon was crushed. Then, even the person was minced by the Yin-Yang diagram. At the last moment, a soul seemed to try to escape, but the Yin-Yang diagram revolved and ate it in one bite. With Little Black's temper and ability, anything in the world could be his food. 2736, killing 4 monarchs in a row. Congratulations to the human race. 4. Rumble. A crack appeared in the sky. This meant that a Tao-proving level powerhouse had died. This was under the siege of 18 Tao-proving level powerhouses. It was extremely difficult to instantly kill one of them. In any case, exclamations were everywhere in Han Fei's origin star. Almost everyone was shocked. The fist mark blotted out the sun. Even the trembling ripples could easily wipe out millions of them. This was from their first-person perspective in Han Fei's origin star. Even so, they could only barely see the fist mark. As for The attacks full of the sky, they couldn't see them clearly at all. They could only see colorful mystic light. But anyway, there was a crack in the great Tao, which represented the death of a monarch. Master Human Emperor. Master Human Emperor is awesome. Master Human Emperor is invincible. Kill these be asterisk stards. Countless people were excited and their admiration for Han Fei was indescribable. Especially the people born after Han Fei left the raging sea. Their admiration for him was maxed out. The power of faith came wave after wave. However, Han Fei only had the time to kill one of the monarchs. Although the other two were caught in frenzy too, and their soul-suppressing godly weapon appeared, Han Fei didn't have the time to kill them, because many people had already started to attack the supreme yin-yang diagram. Although Little Black and Little White were extremely powerful now, they hadn't proven their Tao yet, so it was impossible for them to withstand the joint attack of so many strong masters. With a thought from Han Fei, Little Black and Little White appeared above his head and then disappeared into his body, fusing with him. After the fusion, the yin-yang divine eyes appeared, and Han Fei's killing intent sword. Steal. Han Fei took the opportunity to steal the two soul-suppressing godly weapons and wrapped them in the Star Sea mystic sand to suppress them. As the Star Sea mystic sand tightened, the two soul-suppressing godly weapons were forcibly crushed. Han Fei roared, "I am Human Emperor Han Fei. I just killed a Tao-proving level monarch of the 10,000 scale race." These words were naturally shouted to the humans from the chaotic wasteland, who were fighting at the city of scavengers. Firstly, it was to reassure them that it wasn't he who died, and secondly, it was to motivate them and increase their fighting intent. Sure enough, after hearing Han Fei's words, the humans from the chaotic wasteland were all overjoyed. How long had it been? Their battle hadn't even started yet, but the human emperor had already killed a monarch of the 10,000 scale race. What could be more exciting than this? They had always thought that there was only one monarch in the city of scavengers. But it seemed that this was not the case at all. But in any case, the monarchs that they couldn't reach and could only look up to couldn't last more than a few seconds under the hands of the human emperor. This made them feel the power of this human emperor for the first time. After Han Fei shouted, the monarchs of the 10,000 scale race rushed over. Only the two monarchs who were caught in frenzy didn't know whom to fight. Seeing these people rushing over, Han Fei suddenly slashed all great Daos in one sword at the void with one hand and the primordial Dao sword with the other. These monarchs of the 10,000 scale race wanted to block it, but suddenly, the two swords disappeared into thin air. At this moment, because Han Fei was not a monarch, he had no time to launch other techniques to counterattack after the two slashes. And the techniques of the dozen people had already arrived. He could only use the Star Sea mystic sand to block them. Bang! 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 Puff! 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 After only half a round of impact, the Star Sea mystic sand was penetrated. And the remaining techniques bombarded Han Fei almost at the same time. Pfft! Han Fei spewed out a mouthful of essence blood, and he was instantly drenched in blood. This scene made the hearts of countless people in his origin stars tighten. However, the Tao provers of the 10,000 scale race were all dumbfounded. He was fine? Logically speaking, if it were anyone else, he would have been blown up under this round of attacks, but Han Fei was only injured on the surface. This meant that Han Fei's physique was stronger than they had imagined. But at this critical moment, Han Fei suddenly grinned. The person closest to him suddenly changed his expression. He felt that someone was depriving him of control of his body. At the moment when the monarchs attacked, Han Fei caught one of them with the void lines and punched out with the invincible fist art, the Tao of slaughter, God, and the Ragnarok. The person closest to Han Fei couldn't move at all and was punched to death. However, the monarchs had already approached Han Fei, and three of them suddenly unleashed some kind of extraordinary power, which was a sign of activating a divine technique. They wanted to get close to Han Fei and catch him in one fell swoop. But at this moment, the two swords that Han Fei slashed out just now suddenly appeared out of thin air, pierced through these two people without any warning, and detonated. Rumble! 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 3 great Tao cracks appeared in a row, illuminating the sky, indicating the death of 3 monarchs. Someone realized that something was wrong and hurriedly shouted, "It's the great Tao of time." These 2 swords jumped in time. All the monarchs were shocked. Wasn't he a disciple of the Void Temple? How could he know the great Tao of time? But at this moment, they had already approached him. A divine technique had been activated. It was a sort of law, branded with the power of Tao patterns. Steal. However, the void stealing technique directly stole this sword and attacked another person. As for Han Fei, he was hit head-on by another round of attacks from the 10 of the monarchs. Puff. 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 Rumble. Han Fei vomited blood again, but another monarch was pierced by this divine level sword of law and died on the spot. Tweet. Hearing the cry of the Emperor Sparrow, these monarchs were so frightened that they hurriedly retreated. Unfortunately, nothing happened next. Instead, a healing pillar of light fell from the sky and landed on Han Fei. The wounds on Han Fei's body were quickly repaired, and his slightly hoarse voice sounded again. "My name is Han Fei. I just killed 4 monarchs in a row. Congratulations to the human race." Roar. Roar, roar. The human emperor will not be defeated. The human emperor is invincible. Roar. In Han Fei's origin star, everyone had been worried that Han Fei was seriously injured, but in the blink of an eye, the situation had reversed. Han Fei had killed 4 monarchs in a row, which stunned them. Although they didn't know how these monarchs died, this didn't stop them from cheering for Han Fei. In the entire origin star, words could no longer express their excitement. At this moment, they were all roaring. Wang Xiaojiao and the others swallowed hard. The strong masters of the lava giants were also shocked. They knew that Han Fei was not weak, but they didn't expect him to be so strong. Furthermore, Han Fei's tough fighting style perfectly showed them what invincibility was. The lava giants thought that their defense power was amazing, but now it seemed that no matter how amazing it was, it couldn't block the joint attack of 18 monarchs. The humans from the chaotic wasteland were also crazy at this moment. They were excited and couldn't control their emotions. In the end, they vented their excitement on the cultivators of the 10,000 scale race. Among the onlookers, the tiger demon, the fox demon, and Li Luoluo weren't too shocked. After all, Han Fei had too many identity tags. He was a disciple of the Void Temple, the master of the Emperor Sparrow, and the emperor of the human race. Therefore, it wasn't beyond their expectations that Han Fei could achieve such a result. It was a publicly acknowledged fact that the Void Temple had the strongest combat power among the three temples. Even if Han Fei was only at the sky-opening realm, he hadn't disgraced the Void Temple. In the audience, the 10,000 scale monarch looked very solemn on the surface, but he was secretly relieved. He admitted that Han Fei was strong and was indeed worthy of being a disciple of the Void Temple. However, judging from the current battle situation, it was not easy for Han Fei to destroy a team of 18 Dao provers. He could fight, but could he kill a carefree level cultivator like this? Of course not. The difference between a carefree level cultivator and a Dao proving level 1 was huge. Even if Han Fei could kill 2 or 3 carefree level cultivators in a row with his peak combat power, so what? Could he kill 10 in a row? If he couldn't even defeat the carefree level cultivators, how could he fight an immortal level 1? As for Gu Tingnan's side, they could only marvel at Han Fei's strength. Only Lu Qianxi felt that this was normal. Han Fei had long had the ability to kill monarchs. Fortunately, he followed him back then. Otherwise, there would have already been a lot of weeds growing on his grave. Seeing this, Han Guanxu and Jiang Linxian just looked at each other. Han Guanxu said, "Your decision was wise." Sure enough, it was a breakthrough attempt to remove Feier's bloodline and transform it into a spiritual heritage. Facts have proven that without a bloodline, Feier can still be as strong as I was. Jiang Linxian glanced at him. Don't be narcissistic. Were you so strong back then? He took the path of extreme balance, but you only took the path of single extreme. You're not nearly as good as him at all. Hee hee. If it weren't for the interference of those guys in the Soul Sea, I would have embarked on this path long ago. Jiang Linxian nodded slightly and then said indifferently, "There will be a chance. Didn't we reincarnate for 9 lives just for those Eternals?" At this moment, because the 18 monarchs were not familiar with Han Fei's combat method, or rather, they had never encountered an opponent like Han Fei. 5 of them had died in a row, and 2 of them had even fallen into frenzy. In the blink of an eye, there were only 11 of them left. This made these Dao proving level cultivators of the 10,000 scale race feel deep fear. With Han Fei's physique and the legendary Emperor Sparrow as his companion spirit, it was impossible to kill him with normal approaches. Therefore, someone shouted, "Everyone, let's die for the 10,000 scale race." Hearing that, everybody's heart skipped a beat. It was easier said than done. But on second thought, if they were going to die anyway, what else could they do except risk their lives? Since they were going to die anyway, they might as well drag the human emperor down with them. Someone sighed. "Everyone, we can't delay any longer. This person has also embarked on the path of heavenly enlightenment. For the great monarch and the future of the 10,000 scale race, I'll take my leave first." One of them was covered in blood. His scale armor turned from dark green to scarlet, and his blood was burning. Between his eyebrows, the power of his soul was also burning, erupting with blue flames. Behind him, a scale left his body with a crack. Bang! This person blew himself up and fused the power of his bloodline, soul, and life into the scale. In the next moment, the scale turned into a saber beam, which contained everything of this person. Han Fei's heart skipped a beat. This was no longer the power of the Dao proving level. This was definitely the power of the carefree level, and it wasn't ordinary carefree level combat power. Han Fei immediately used the World Destruction Fist. At the same time, the Star Sea mystic sand condensed in front of him, and he chose to resist it. Head on. Clang. The world destruction fist was shattered inch by inch under this blow. It was not because the world destruction fist was not strong enough, but because the gap between Han Fei and this person was too great. The other party was determined to kill him even if he died. Therefore, when the world destruction fist was completely destroyed, the power of this blow seemed to have only been consumed by half. The Star Sea mystic sand turned into a sand cone in front of Han Fei, trying to block it. But at the same time, the Star Sea mystic sand also collapsed inch by inch. However, the collapsed Star Sea mystic sand quickly condensed again and wasn't broken through. Han Fei tried his best. Blood kept flowing from the corner of his mouth as he forcibly used the power of the Star Sea mystic sand to lock down the power of this slash. However, if one person couldn't take down Han Fei, what about the three of them? Two more people stood up and sacrificed themselves to slash at Han Fei. Huff. Inside Han Fei's origin star, everyone held their breath. Even the hexagon. Starfish's big flexible eyes stopped rolling at this moment, staring at the terrifying knife lights. Just as the two saber beams were about to touch the Star Sea mystic sand, Han Fei suddenly reached out and grabbed a scimitar, waving it in the air. In the next moment, the Star Sea mystic sand was pierced through and scattered. However, a crack filled with blue light appeared. Swish. 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 3 consecutive life-risking strikes sank into it and disappeared. Not good. This person sent our attack into time. It's the timeline. These 3 attacks didn't appear in the time river. He directly cut through multiple timelines. How could this be possible? Han Fei continued to shout, I am human Emperor Han Fei. I've killed 3 more monarchs of the 10,000 scale race for the human race. My fellow humans, release your anger and kill to your heart's content. The enslavement of the 10,000 scale race for 100,000 years must be repaid at the expense of the destruction of the 10,000 scale race. When Han Fei shouted, these Tao-proving level cultivators were all stunned. How could they fight him? They couldn't beat him in a head-on clash. In just a short moment, 8 people had died. Han Fei brandished the blade of hope and let it return to his body. This kind of unexpected combat method, once used, the other party would not be tricked again. However, there were only 10 Tao provers left now, including the 2 in a frenzy. However, the 2 were still looking for someone to fight. How much combat power could they have left? But in the next moment, black light burst out of Han Fei's eyes, and one of the 8 people suddenly attacked his companions. Hiss. The others all dodged, knowing that another person had been frenzied. At this moment, they had run out of tricks. The 3 powerhouses of the 10,000 scale race in frenzy were attacking randomly, and there were only 7 of them left that could still fight. These 7 people had to deal with the 3 people who were caught in a frenzy while facing Han Fei. Their combat power was obviously insufficient. More importantly, they didn't dare to kill the 3 people who were caught in a frenzy, because they clearly sensed that with the current strength of the Emperor Sparrow, he could only cause the 3 of them to fall into a frenzy. Otherwise, the battle would have ended if he made them all fall into a frenzy and kill each other. Then there would have been no need to start a fight with Han Fei. This was an unsolvable battle. They couldn't retreat or admit defeat. They could only bite the bullet and fight. In the end, after half an hour, the remaining Tao provers of the 10,000 scale race all turned into great Tao cracks in the sky. This couldn't be helped. Due to the limitation of their strength, they couldn't take down Han Fei at all. However, Han Fei had enough strength and means to kill them. It was just a matter of time for him to kill them all. Therefore, after these people were completely wiped out, Han Fei stood proudly in the stormy void and said, "I am human Emperor Han Fei. I've killed 18 monarchs of the 10,000 scale race in total. Congratulations, the human race." On the side of the divine beasts, the fox demon rolled her eyes. He could have ended the battle sooner, but he dragged it out and made himself seem miserable. Is he pretending to be pitiful in front of the human race? The tiger demon nodded. Yes. Perhaps it's because he took the human emperor path. There must be many people watching this battle in his origin star. The fox demon said leisurely, for the power of faith? The tiger demon said, I don't know. I've never walked this path, but it should be for the power of faith. On the Queen of Horror's side, Wu Shuang sighed. Seeing Han Fei kill monarchs, she suddenly felt that her Tao proving was not worth mentioning. Even if she had already proven Tao, it was impossible for her to kill these 18 monarchs. But Han Fei had done it before he proved Tao, and his combat power didn't seem to be much damaged. The Queen of Horror said, Look. I asked you to seduce this guy, but you didn't. TSK. Do you want to try again? Wu Shuang was speechless. My queen, can you stop thinking about these things all day long? The Queen of Horror sneered. You're just a fool. You don't know what's good for you when you're young. Girls always don't understand the good of men. Sigh. Wu Shuang. At this moment, Han Fei was experiencing the crazily increasing power of faith in his body. There was too much of it. The power of faith he collected after conquering cities and territories over the past few days had completely condensed into a glittering pearl in his body. Han Fei felt that if he fused this power of faith into his original great Tao, or his star core at this moment, he might gain unexpected gains. If he used it to prove his Tao, he felt that it could block at least 2 or 3 tribulations for him. He had already killed all the Tao-proving level cultivators. Han Fei glanced at the 10,000 scale monarch and then looked at the 10 carefree level cultivators. The latter were all horrified. If it was a one-on-one battle, the result would be hard to say. Han Fei looked a little hesitant. The speed of a carefree level monarch was fast, and his physique and soul were very strong too. Even if his strength doubled, he should only be comparable to a carefree level monarch at best. It was actually very difficult to fight them. Back then, when he killed the cultivators from the Fist sect in the God Fiend Sea, he used the Azure Dragon's heaven-defying scales. At that time, it was a 3-against-1 fight, so he had no choice but to use it. This time, he didn't intend to fight these carefree level cultivators one-on-one, but he wanted to try and see if he could kill a carefree level cultivator with all his strength. At the same time, he needed to kill a carefree level without external help to let others see it. Han Fei glanced at these carefree level cultivators, and the voice of the Emperor Sparrow sounded in his mind, Are you looking for trouble? So what even if you beat a carefree level monarch? Han Fei said, The news of today's battle will definitely spread. The higher realm I beat with my true strength, the safer the human race will be in the future. If I defeat a carefree level cultivator now, then after I prove Tao, even the immortal level cultivators won't dare to have any improper thoughts about the human race. The Emperor Sparrow said, since you are a disciple of the Void Temple, even if you don't win, no one will dare to attack the human race. Han Fei said, it's different. The Void Temple isn't human. I can't keep using the Void Temple as my trump card. If someone uses this to waste the opportunity of the Void Temple helping me, I'll suffer a huge loss. Up to you. If you want to fight them one-on-one, I don't think you'll need my frenzying eye, right? The Emperor Sparrow's frenzying eye could now make 3 Tao proving level monarchs fall into a frenzy, and had a certain chance to do that to a carefree level 1, but it might not last long. However, this was a show. If the other party fell into a frenzy and became defenseless, even if he killed them, no one would admit his true strength. Therefore, he definitely couldn't use the frenzying eye. Han Fei said, the Heavenly Fiend battle body can almost double my strength now. Just provide this power to me. I can withstand it. As for Little Black and Little White, they could only provide him with the yin yang divine eyes. With it, he could see through and predict the other party's attack method. Han Fei said, come on. Who wants to be the first to die? In the carefree level, there were strong and weak. If Han Fei followed the one-on-one procedure, the 10,000 scale race would definitely send the weakest to fight him first. After all, they were all peak combat power of the 10,000 scale race. When facing a freak like Han Fei, it was best not to attack. Even if they wanted to fight, they had to let the other carefree level cultivators consume Han Fei's combat power or spiritual power. This was because Han Fei's spiritual power was also consumed a lot when he crossed realms to fight. If he fought them one by one and fought to the last, who was also the strongest carefree level cultivator, he was very likely to lose. Besides, the weaker carefree level cultivators could also test Han Fei's strength. Therefore, in the 10,000 scale race, a carefree level cultivator who might have just had a breakthrough walked out. He didn't really want to come, because the others were all stronger than him. He knew that they asked him to fight Han Fei first because they wanted him to wear Han Fei down, or to see Han Fei's methods clearly. But he had to fight this battle. The man said, my name is Luo Zhansan, from the 10,000 scale race. I'm in the early stage of the carefree level. I know you're strong, but since it's a life and death battle, I'll try my best to kill you. When Luo Zhansan said that he would kill Han Fei, some of the onlookers shook their heads and their hearts. If he knew some history about the Emperor Sparrow, he wouldn't dare to say that he would kill Han Fei. Regardless of whether he could beat Han Fei or not, even if he really killed Han Fei, he wouldn't be far from death. As the king of ferocious beasts, the Emperor Sparrow almost couldn't be killed. Han Fei didn't dawdle. The sooner the battle on his side ended, the more advantageous it would be for the human race. Han Fei pointed his fingers and slashed out a formless infinity sword. However, just like before, this sword disappeared the moment it was slashed out. It was just that this move had been used now. Everyone knew that this sword would jump through time and appear at a certain point in time. However, when Han Fei slashed out the formless infinity sword, many people present looked at him in admiration. Han Fei didn't probe his opponent but attacked with all his strength. This was a wise choice. Then, Han Fei took out the god-shattering scissors. Luo Zhansan didn't waste any time. He knew that the more time Han Fei had to prepare, the more dangerous he would be. Just imagine if dozens of divine techniques were launched from unknown points of time. Even if he didn't die, he would be seriously injured. The carefree level was very different from the Tao-proving level. First of all, their speed was several times that of the Tao-proving level. Luo Zhansan appeared beside Han Fei in the blink of an eye, trying to suppress Han Fei with speed. However, he activated the void-stealing technique at the beginning. With a few pops, Han Fei vomited blood from his 7 orifices and suffered a backlash. However, Luo Zhansan's speed plummeted. Without a word, Han Fei held the god shattering scissors and cut off Luo Zhansan's speed law. As soon as the speed law was broken, Luo Zhansan could only use the speed of other laws. However, compared to the speed he was good at, it was naturally much slower. And Luo Zhansan didn't choose to give up attacking because of the sudden drop in speed. He knew that the Emperor Sparrow had the ability to frenzy others. But his soul-suppressing godly weapon was stronger than the others. Besides, if the Emperor Sparrow could really frenzy him, then no matter how he attacked, it would be in vain. Therefore, Luo Zhansan could only charge at Han Fei like a hothead. However, the frenzying eye that he was always vigilant of didn't appear. Instead, Han Fei's body surged with a murderous aura. With the heavenly fiend battle body, his strength doubled. At this moment, his peak strength could reach 8 times his basic combat power, which was nearly 800 points of star power. First of all, in terms of strength and soul power, he was already comparable to a carefree level monarch, but his comprehensive combat power was still not enough. Han Fei held the god-shattering scissors in his hand and transformed them into the formless infinity sword. And Luo Zhansan was using a hammer. At this moment, a divine technique burst out. The power of the hammer seemed to push over from the world behind him. It was more like a world than a hammer. Han Fei didn't show any weakness, but continued to launch attacks. When the formless infinity sword fell on the giant hammer, suddenly, the time arcane technique was activated, and the formless infinity sword that Han Fei had just slashed out jumped out of time. This was equivalent to Han Fei slashing out 3 formless infinity swords at once, which was equivalent to performing 3 divine techniques. Clang! 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 The shadow of the giant hammer that occupied half of the sea was cut apart by the 3 formless infinity swords, but the result of the confrontation was not ideal. It was equivalent to the outburst of 3 divine techniques. After cutting off this hammer, there was only one left, and this was after he had used the Ragnarok to break the power of the other party's law. As for the last formless infinity sword, when it arrived in front of Luo Zhansan, although Luo Zhansan was forced to retreat 100,000 miles by this sword, the Tao pattern mystic armor that appeared on his body lasted for a full second before shattering. Then, a divine level armor appeared on his body. It was at least a high-quality godly weapon level armor, but it was half broken. However, this round of 3 divine techniques was actually blocked by Luo Zhansan. From this, it could be seen that the gap between the carefree level and the Tao-proving level was really huge. If it was a Tao-proving level cultivator, he probably couldn't block his formless infinity sword or even all great Taos in one sword. Han Fei looked solemn. Sure enough, he underestimated the carefree level cultivators. The formless infinite sword and the world destruction fist were the 2 strongest combat skills Han Fei could use now, which could maximize Han Fei's strength. And Luo Zhansan was the weakest of the 10. Han Fei thought that although he could still fight, he couldn't kill him instantly. Luo Zhansan was also shocked. Not only was his divine technique broken, but his body-protecting technique was also broken, and he almost lost a high-quality godly weapon. But he also knew that the use of divine techniques couldn't be too frequent. So after blocking Han Fei's sword, he rushed to Han Fei again. Seeing this, Han Fei didn't have time to use any divine techniques. With a swish, an invincible saber beam burst out from the invincible eye between his eyebrows. Upon seeing this, Luo Zhansan's face changed greatly. A pair of gloves appeared on his hands, and then he put his hands together and chose to resist it head-on. Ka ka ka. Once again, Luo Zhansan was forced to retreat hundreds of thousands of kilometers. By the time he stopped retreating, the high-quality godly weapon level boxing gloves in his hand had been completely destroyed, and only his bones of gold and jade were left on his arms. His flesh and scales were shattered by the invincible knife light. Han Fei didn't give Luo Zhansan time to recover. When Luo Zhansan had just stabilized himself, he had already arrived in front of him and punched out tens of thousands of fist marks in one breath. The effect of the combat skills was quite shocking. The humans in Han Fei's origin star all applauded. Only a few people realized that Han Fei could no longer kill this monarch in an instant. This meant that Han Fei was basically in the same realm as the enemy, or even weaker. Luo Zhansan was obviously also a body cultivator, or he wouldn't have practiced the hammer technique. Therefore, he counterattacked with his physique and overwhelming qi and blood. Bang! 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 Boom boom boom. Puff! 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 In just 3 or 5 seconds, both of them were drenched in blood, and even 3 of Han Fei's ribs were broken. This was the first time since he entered the sea realm that his bones were broken. It could be seen that although he could temporarily have the combat power of the carefree level with his original Great Tao, there was still a gap between him and the true carefree level cultivators. Of course, Luo Zhansan wasn't any better. Han Fei's invincible fist mark was mixed with the power of the Tao of Slaughter God and the power of the Ragnarok. Luo Zhansan's body was shaken and his head emitted bursts of golden light. That was his soul-suppressing godly weapon protecting his soul. Finally, Luo Zhansan didn't dare to continue, because the power of the Tao of Slaughter God was crazily surging in his body, destroying his body all the time. He knew that the longer the battle went on, the more disadvantageous it would be for him. The biggest disadvantage of close combat was that there was no time to use any divine techniques. Both parties had to parry each other's blows in a very short time. This was a collision of pure strength and qi and blood. Luo Zhansan suddenly vomited a mouthful of blood. The blood mist turned into a small hammer and struck down. Han Fei narrowed his eyes and his body suddenly turned into 2 pieces of mist. Even so, he was still hit hard. After the twin divine technique was activated, Han Fei's face was slightly pale. He stuffed a mass of liquid divine radiance into his mouth and rushed up again. He didn't believe that Luo Zhansan's qi and blood hammer could be used many times. If Luo Zhansan could use it, so could Han Fei, but there was no need. It wasn't like he couldn't fight anymore. This qi and blood transformation technique consumed too much vitality. Once or twice might work, but if he used it 3 or 4 times, Luo Zhansan would be crippled. Sure enough, Luo Zhansan didn't dare to continue. He had no choice but to continue fighting. The result was obvious. Han Fei still had the Heaven Enlightenment Divine technique to recover, but Luo Zhansan could only rely on the power of the carefree level to recover by force. This kind of recovery was not complete, and it consumed a lot of his foundation and immediate combat power. Therefore, in just 10 seconds, Han Fei broke Luo Zhansan's soul-suppressing godly weapon at the cost of breaking an arm. It was not that Han Fei didn't want to use the void-stealing technique, but the backlash of the void-stealing technique consumed too much spiritual power. The shattering of Luo Zhansan's soul-suppressing godly weapon indicated that he could no longer resist the Ragnarok. After a few rounds of attacks, most of Luo Zhansan's soul was destroyed, and his strength had plummeted. With a thought, Han Fei cut Luo Zhansan with the god-shattering scissors. Rumble. A huge crack appeared in front of everyone. Han Fei was already covered in wounds, but he still shouted, "I am human Emperor Han Fei. I've just killed a carefree level monarch of the 10,000 scale race. Congratulations to the human race." However, this time, although there were cheers in the origin star, most people fell silent. They had personally witnessed this battle and seen Han Fei covered in wounds. However, there were still 9 strong masters of this level. After a moment of silence, someone in Han Fei's origin star shouted, "Human Emperor." At this moment, they didn't need to say much. The word human emperor was their faith, their absolute approval of Han Fei's identity as the human emperor, and their highest respect for Han Fei. Human emperor, human emperor, human emperor. In the origin star, billions of people were shouting for Han Fei. At this moment, bathed in the Heaven Enlightenment Divine technique, Han Fei said leisurely, "The next 9, come at me together." 2741 What I want is the destruction of the 10,000 scale race. 1. One-on-one battles were really exhausting. With so many people at the carefree level, Han Fei estimated that he could only fight 3 at most. He had basically used all the combat skills and techniques he could use, and the battles would only get harder and harder. Anyway, he was the one setting the rules now, so he wasn't afraid that these people would disagree. 9 at once? Many people thought that Han Fei was crazy. If the 9 of them attacked him at the same time, wouldn't he be crushed instantly? In Han Fei's origin star, the billions of people were also dumbfounded. Some people even felt that it was an auditory hallucination. Was the human emperor out of his mind? He definitely couldn't defeat the 9 of them together. But the people from the 10,000 scale race thought differently. With the strength Han Fei had shown now, if he dared to say that, he must have some confidence. The first thought of the 10,000 scale monarch and the 2 immortal level powerhouses was that Han Fei had a way to temporarily enter the immortal level. Although it was an external force, it wouldn't affect his trial. After all, everyone had different opportunities. However, even if Han Fei could reach the immortal level in a short period of time, it wouldn't be easy for him to kill 9 carefree level cultivators. Right? If he couldn't enter the immortal level, it meant that Han Fei must have a powerful weapon that could kill many people at the carefree level at once. However, it was also a good thing if it could consume Han Fei's more powerful trump card in advance. It would be better than him using this trump card to kill their immortal level powerhouses, right? Although theoretically, Han Fei couldn't kill an immortal level cultivator, this trump card must be very powerful. In short, there was no need to bear this trump card. The 10,000 scale monarch said, "Be careful. For these carefree level powerhouses, group battles might not be a good thing. But for the two immortal level powerhouses, they secretly heaved a sigh of relief. After all, people like Han Fei could no longer be judged by normal standards. Since he was so confident, he might have some special treasures." The two sides stood still and the 9 people were about to attack, when Han Fei flipped his hand and a turtle shell appeared. It was the mystic martial monarch armor. Turtle shell sky sealing technique. The sky sealing technique covered a large area. After all, it was the ultimate treasure left to him by the old turtle. When he used the turtle shell sealing heaven technique, those carefree level cultivators couldn't retreat in time and were directly locked in here. Almost at the moment the void was locked, 4 or 5 figures immediately hit the translucent barrier. Upon seeing this, the carefree level cultivators almost attacked a certain spatial node in the turtle shell sealing array at the same time. Knock, knock, knock. The void rippled, and Han Fei smiled contemptuously. "It's useless. In order to prevent you from running around, I can only trap you first before I fight." Buzz. Suddenly, nearly 200 bones suddenly appeared beside Han Fei. Huh. When he saw these bones, the Grand Elder of the Lava Giants was slightly taken aback. "Aren't these the bones of the monarch creature that Han Fei asked him for?" These bones were the inventory of the Lava Giants. In that small primordial fragment world, some monarch realm creatures had been born over the endless years, so over time, they had accumulated so many bones. These bones were originally meant to be used for refining, but most of the cultivators in their clan were in the sky opening realm and couldn't refine with monarch realm bones, so most of these things were sealed. But why did Han Fei take out these bones? The 9 carefree level cultivators on the opposite side didn't know what was going on and didn't dare to rush forward rashly. What if 4 or 5 of them were killed in close combat, like when Han Fei dealt with the group of Dao proving level cultivators? At this moment, Han Fei no longer hid anything. Time flowed in this place, and time voids appeared one after another, as if countless taboo doors had opened. Huge creatures rushed out of these time holes one after another. There were fiery dragons burning with flames, giant turtles flowing with magma, strange fish covered with scorching scales, and fiery phoenixes steaming. In any case, 212 such Dao-proving level creatures had appeared at the same time. All of them were ferocious and extraordinary. Han Fei didn't use this trick when he faced the 18 Dao-proving level cultivators and fought the carefree level cultivator alone, just because he wanted to draw the power of faith of the human race who was watching the battle. Now, after killing the carefree level cultivator, Han Fei had to use it. Hiss. Time resurrection, one of the 6 techniques of time. How is this possible? Why does a person from the Void Temple know the divine techniques of the Time Temple? Furthermore, he has embarked on the great Tao of time. At this moment, be it the 10,000 scale monarch, the tiger demon, the fox demon, Li Luoluo, the queen of horror, Chu Hao. They all revealed surprised expressions. The Void Temple was mysterious. The Immortal Temple never communicated with outsiders. Only the Time Temple was active in every corner of the Sea Realm. Not everyone knew the 6 techniques of time. Only some top powerhouses knew it. It was because they knew this technique that they knew how terrifying it was. This was an extraordinary technique that could resurrect ancient creatures for a short period of time. It was said that only the core members of the Time Temple or the disciples who were highly valued had a chance to cultivate the 6 techniques of time. Furthermore, one of the basic conditions to cultivate the 6 techniques of time was that you had to know the great Tao of time first, and it would be best if you were extremely proficient in it. 2742 What I want is the destruction of the 10,000 scale race, too. Therefore, when Han Fei used the time resurrection technique, everyone was shocked. The fox demon said in a low voice, "It seems that this master of the Emperor Sparrow is really extraordinary. Has he entered the 2 temples at the same time?" The tiger demon said, "The stronger, the better. This means that he can better carry out his proposal." Outside the field, Chu Hao narrowed his eyes slightly. It was not a big deal to know the great Tao of time, but it was another story to master the 6 techniques of time. He couldn't help but wonder whether it was because he brought the demon purification pot to the raging sea that Han Fei was born, or it was because Han Fei would be born that he went to the raging sea. At this moment, Han Fei felt a huge burden on his spiritual power. If he hadn't activated all his Tao locks, he probably wouldn't have been able to revive so many Tao-proving level creatures. According to his previous estimation, there were about 60 to 80 Tao-proving level creatures that he could revive with the time resurrection technique. It was definitely inferior to Mochi. The reason why he could revive so many people now was that he had borrowed the spiritual power of Little Black, Little White, and the Emperor Sparrow. 212 was his limit. After this battle, he had to take a rest. Otherwise, he couldn't deal with the immortal level powerhouses behind. The time resurrection technique had a time limit. At that time, Mochi's strength could allow them to exist for about 30 seconds. And Han Fei's limit was that they could exist for 50 seconds. Perhaps because he was stronger than Mochi, the ancient creatures he revived could exist for a longer time. However, the battle between Han Fei and the carefree level cultivator lasted for a long time, more than 10 seconds. Therefore, he couldn't let these carefree level cultivators have a chance to hold out for more than 50 seconds. 212 Tao-proving level ferocious beasts swarmed up. On average, 23.5 Tao-proving level creatures could kill a carefree level cultivator. In an instant, these carefree level cultivators felt the same as the 18 Tao-proving level monarchs that Han Fei just fought. Although their strength far exceeded that of Tao-proving level cultivators, it was completely possible for Tao-proving level cultivators to kill carefree level cultivators if the latter was greatly outnumbered. Furthermore, they had to be wary of Han Fei. Of course, this wasn't enough. Han Fei threw out hundreds of thousands of God sealing spears, completely limiting the range of this place. Even this was a group of carefree level cultivators. They didn't have the time to break through the array of the God sealing spear. At this point, the fate of these people seemed to have been decided. As for the Beast King, Gu Tingnan and the others were dumbfounded. Were the Tao-proving level cultivators so worthless? The Beast King exclaimed, "Wow, is this kid already so strong?" Lu Chanxi said, "Well, why haven't I seen this move before?" The Grand Elder and Elder Fire Spear of the Lava Giant tribe looked at each other in bewilderment. Were the bones that could only be used for refining so useful? If Han Fei had harbored any ill intentions back then, wouldn't their Lava Giant tribe have been wiped out? The Queen of Horror explained, "This is why the Time Temple can be ranked as one of the 3 temples. This group of people is too good at borrowing strength Although they are not strong in one-on-one combat, they have all kinds of tricks to play with their enemies to death. Wu Shuang asked, then who is his match here? If he proves his Tao. The Queen of Horror said, there are conditions for the Time Temple to trace back in time. Those bones are Han Fei's conditions. There might be a lot of remains of the Tao proving level in this world, but the higher the realm is, the fewer there are. When they reach the great monarch realm, who knows where they can find the bones of a great monarch? Furthermore, such bones will be useless after being used once. How can there be so many peak-level combatants for them to trace back? Therefore, the higher the level of the Time Temple, the weaker it is than the Void Temple. Under the same realm, Time Temple will definitely lose. Wu Shuang asked, what about the Immortal Temple? The Queen of Horror said, I don't know. I might find out when I die. Wu Shuang. In the turtle shell sky ceiling technique, the carefree level cultivators couldn't handle it at all. They tried to avoid these many Tao proving level ferocious beasts with speed, but there were too many ferocious beasts. And because of the God Sealing Spear Array, their strength was inexplicably weakened by nearly 20%, so even if they seized the opportunity, they couldn't take down Han Fei. One of the stronger carefree level cultivators seemed to be especially good at speed. He took the initiative to avoid the ferocious beasts. He turned one hand into a knife and fused half of his qi and blood into his palm, as if he wanted to pierce through Han Fei in one fell swoop. However, Han Fei's eyes flashed. This carefree level cultivator was frenzied by the frenzying eye instantly and then torn apart by this group of ancient ferocious beasts after only 3 seconds. He couldn't even blow himself up. The Emperor Sparrow hadn't proven Tao, but it didn't mean that he couldn't frenzy a carefree level cultivator. After this person died, there were only 8 of the 9 people left, and the pressure increased again. In less than 10 seconds, Han Fei activated the frenzying eye again and the void stealing technique, and another 2 people died on the spot. But then, Han Fei stopped attacking. Instead, he sat cross-legged and began to recover his spiritual power. This was not cheating. The time resurrection technique, the frenzying eye, and the void stealing technique were the great techniques that he had already learned. This was also a kind of strength. Therefore, the way to deal with the carefree level cultivators was even simpler than to deal with the Tao proving level ones. Once anyone was tricked by Han Fei, they would immediately be torn to pieces by a large group of Tao proving level ferocious beasts. 2743 What I want is the destruction of the 10,000 scale race. 3. Therefore, the battle that everyone thought Han Fei couldn't fight ended the fastest instead. It didn't even take 50 seconds. After only 38 seconds, there was only one carefree level cultivator left in the field. This person was covered in wounds. He didn't want to die before he even touched the corner of Han Fei's clothes. Han Fei thought for a moment and ignored him. The remaining 180 Tao proving level beasts swarmed up. In the end, that person chose to self-destruct, blowing up a group of Tao proving level beasts. After this person died, Han Fei removed the turtle shell sky ceiling technique. With a sudden rumbling sound, great Tao cracks appeared frequently and intertwined in the sky. This scene made all the people fighting in the city of scavengers pause for a moment. All of a sudden, there were so many great Tao cracks. How many Monarch Realm strong masters had died? Then, Han Fei's voice continued to resound between the heavens and earth. My name is Han Fei. I'm the current human emperor. I've killed a total of 9 carefree level monarchs. Congratulations to the human race. At this moment, the people in Han Fei's origin star were numb. What did they see? The sky was full of strange ferocious beasts, fiery dragons flew in the sky, and fire turtles burned the sky. These things seemed to have been summoned by Han Fei. Gulp. How strong is Master Human Emperor now? This must be Master Human Emperor's secret trump card. Otherwise, I'm afraid it will be very difficult for Master Human Emperor to fight on his own. Why did Master Human Emperor fight that cultivator with such difficulty just now? It took him such a long time to kill him and got himself covered in wounds. Well, maybe Master Human Emperor just wants to have a try? Stop guessing. This is definitely one of Master Human Emperor's trump cards. How can you easily use your trump cards? Of course not. You'll only use them at critical moments, won't you? I thought Master Human Emperor was just misleading the other party just now. Hiss. That makes sense. Brother, your analysis is quite insightful. I'm flattered. At this moment, the 10,000 scale monarch couldn't sit still anymore. Han Fei had too many means that were beyond his imagination. He was almost certain that Han Fei had some kind of power that could temporarily help him reach the immortal level. It was one thing for a perfected star transformation realm cultivator to kill a Tao-proving level cultivator, but to kill a carefree level cultivator was a little too much. He had never heard of such news. However, it was too late even if the 10,000 scale monarch wanted to start a full-scale war. This was because the Tao-proving level and carefree level cultivators had all been killed by Han Fei. Now, only he and the 2 immortal level monarchs were left. If they really started a battle, the 2 immortal level monarchs would be restrained immediately. Could he escape? There was no telling if the tiger demon would take action. Of course, even if the tiger demon took action, he should be able to escape. But the problem was, even if he escaped, what was the use? The disciples of the Void Temple and the Time Temple wouldn't let him off. Where could he run to? From the beginning, it was all your trap. You seemed to have a difficult and bitter battle, but these were all an illusion you created. You wanted to nibble away the power of my subordinates bit by bit. So, you never thought of letting go of any member of the 10,000 scales, right? At this moment, the 10,000 scale monarch didn't believe that Han Fei would kindly let anyone go, because Han Fei had already planned the corresponding approach to deal with the strong masters of each realm. Han Fei grinned. You found out? Oh, congratulations. You've finally figured it out. Han Fei smiled coldly. I am the current human emperor. You've enslaved our human race for 100,000 years. Do you expect me to let go of your 10,000 scale race? To tell you the truth, I want your 10,000 scale race to be annihilated. I want to slaughter everyone in your 10,000 scale race. I want to tell this sea realm that whoever dares to offend our human race will be annihilated. Han Fei's words rumbled like thunder, full of killing intent. The tiger demon of the divine beast lineage sighed. I seem to see that the human race is about to rise again. If he proves the Tao, the human race will definitely shine again. The fox demon said, he is the chosen one, isn, he? Human beings have experienced many glory and decline since the era of chaos, but every time They will rise from the bottom under the leadership of someone. It seems that this process will repeat again in this sea era. Chu Hao looked at Han Fei, who was full of killing intent, and thought that this was probably the first time in history that such a murderous human emperor had appeared. The human race had been prosperous many times since ancient times. But there seemed to have never been such a crazy human emperor. If anyone dares to offend the human race, his entire race would be wiped out. If Han Fei went to the Central Sea Divine Realm, wouldn't he be busy wiping out races every day? However, he thought that if Han Fei proved Tao, no one below the immortal level would be his match. In addition, with his identity as a disciple of the Void Temple and the master of the Emperor Sparrow and his relations to the divine beasts and ferocious beasts, in a short period of time, no one would dare to provoke him. After all, many people hadn't forgotten the scene of the Void Temple massacring in the Central Sea Divine Realm. Others didn't know, but he knew. Back then, it seemed that only a large number of Sky Openers and Tao Provers had died, but there were actually several great monarchs who were killed secretly. At this moment, Han Fei didn't hide his killing intent at all. He glanced at the tiger demon and said, "I need half an hour. Senior, can you help me keep an eye on this 10,000 scale monarch?" The tiger demon didn't hesitate and nodded quickly. But the fox demon said, "He can, but you'll have to write off the incident where the little turtle hunted you." At that time, the little turtle didn't know who you were. You won't hold it against him, right? 2744 What I want is the destruction of the 10,000 scale race. 4. Little turtle? Han Fei realized that the guy who called himself a god turned out to be a mere divine beast turtle. However, since he had asked for their help, he would make the deal. Han Fei nodded. Okay. With that, Han Fei entered his origin star, without caring about what the 10,000 scale monarch thought. On the origin star, Han Fei's face turned pale as soon as he came in, and he collapsed to the ground. Damn it. I shouldn't have used the time resurrection technique randomly. I didn't expect my spiritual power to be consumed so seriously. Han Fei lay on the ground and slept for 3 days and 3 nights. He didn't wake up until he felt 2 tentacles massaging his head. Han Fei opened his eyes, only to see the hexagon starfish running out with a swish. Come back. Han Fei propped himself up and felt that he had recovered a lot. His spiritual power had recovered by about 40%. The effect of his spiritual heritage was indeed good. The 6 big eyes of the hexagon starfish rolled, and he said timidly, "I was giving you a massage." Han Fei spat. "Why are you fatter? Do I have a lot of good things here?" The hexagon starfish's tentacles immediately shrank. "I didn't understand what you said." "I didn't do anything. I slept for days and didn't touch anything." Heh. Han Fei certainly didn't believe this dishonest starfish. With a thought, tens of thousands of spiritual fruits that could repair spiritual power appeared around him. Huff. As Han Fei breathed, all the spiritual fruits turned into gentle spiritual energy and entered his body. After another 2 days of nurturing, Han Fei consumed a total of about 100,000 spiritual fruits related to spiritual power and finally completely restored his spiritual power. 5 days had passed in his origin star. It would be half an hour in the outside world and another 4 or 6 hours in the outside world. The 10,000 scale monarch looked at the tiger demon and said, "I want to abandon the city of scavengers. Are you going to stop me?" The tiger demon said, "How can I go back on my word? You have to stay. You may not be able to stop me." Haha. I don't know who gave you this confidence. Why don't you give it a try? The fox demon chuckled. She was laughing because the 10,000 scale monarch was confident that he was very strong. Was the divine beast lineage so weak in others' eyes now? The straightforward tiger demon said indifferently, "I don't recommend you to do this, but if you insist on trying, I don't mind. Besides, you have nowhere to run. You should know this." The 10,000 scale monarch face was cold. "So you're just going to watch a race perish?" Puff. Lilualuo sneered. "Everything has a cause and effect. If you enslave our ferocious beasts for 100,000 years, it won't be too much to exterminate your race 10 times. Besides, in the vast sea realm, races are being destroyed every few days. What's special about your 10,000 scales race?" The 10,000 scale monarch said, "It's said that whoever kills the emperor sparrow will die. If my 10,000 scale monarch is exterminated, what can I not do? Guess whether I will kill the emperor sparrow or not when I'm doomed to die?" The 10,000 scale monarch was saying this for the tiger demon and the fox demon to hear. He didn't believe that the divine beasts and ferocious beasts had suddenly become so intimate. The fox demon sneered. "You don't know anything, yet you're trying to sow discord. As a great monarch, show some courage. If you can kill him, we won't say anything." Lilualuo shrugged. "You have to kill Han Fei before you kill the emperor sparrow. To be honest, I don't believe you can do it. Why don't you have a try?" The 10,000 scale monarch was speechless. These people seemed to be too confident in Han Fei. Although Han Fei had a lot of luck, if he were to kill him, he would drag Han Fei down with him. Buzz. At this moment, the void fluctuated where Han Fei disappeared. Han Fei had returned. Han Fei smiled casually. "Did you forget what I said? I said that you will die, but I won't." At this moment, Han Fei actually had limited means to use. In the face of immortal level powerhouses, even if he could temporarily reach this level with the demon god scale, his understanding of the law was still far away. This was the most fundamental gap. It wasn't that he could fight as long as he reached this level. He had thought about this before Han Fei met the demon god. But at that time, he felt that if there were really immortal level or great monarch level powerhouses in the city of scavengers, it would be beyond his ability. He would just let his senior brothers and sisters in the Void Temple deal with them. But at that time, he didn't think of killing a powerhouse of this level. He just wanted to save the human race and accomplish the human emperor path. But it was different now. After encountering the demon god, he had a great opportunity. At this moment, he felt that he had to give it a try. Even if he couldn't win, it wouldn't affect his human emperor path. This was because although he hadn't walked the human emperor path to the extreme, he had walked 90% of it. It was enough for him to prove Tao. After he proved Tao, he would fight back in the future and make up for this little flaw in his human emperor path. At this moment, Han Fei took out a dark red scale. As he issued an order in his heart, the scale seemed to dissipate in the wind, and then condensed into a grayish-black invisible battle suit on Han Fei's body. Immediately afterward, the invisible battle suit began to shrink and gradually fused into Han Fei's body, attaching to his bones, flesh, and blood. Buzz. Han Fei felt infinite power bursting out of his body, which was even stronger than the heaven-defying scale, given to him by senior brother Azure Dragon. He felt that his senses were clear, and his perception seemed to be able to cover almost the entire chaotic wasteland. He felt that this world seemed to resonate with him, felt the flowing chaotic power in the endless void, and felt that there seemed to be a galaxy flowing in his body. Huff. Han Fei took a deep breath. Because he hadn't adapted to this level of power. Well, he broke through the barrier between the endless void and reality in one breath. Is this the power of the immortal level? Although there was no surging power of the law, it couldn't be helped. Han Fei hadn't comprehended any laws yet. That was something that could only be transformed after he proved Tao. However, the power of the demon god itself had the ability to break laws, so it didn't matter to Han Fei whether he had mastered a law or not. However, this was not enough. If he wanted to fight an immortal level powerhouse, he had no advantage. His strength alone was not enough. At most, he could barely fight an immortal level powerhouse for a short period of time. If he wanted to win, he had to have a certain specialty that could crush them. Therefore, Han Fei picked up a light blue bead. Crack. The pearl shattered, and Han Fei's lower half-body turned transparent. Han Fei used all the trump cards given by the demon god at this moment. This wind riding smoke had 100 times the effect of one-leaf boat, which meant that the speed this thing could erupt with could be 100 times the speed of light explosion. Han Fei didn't try to hide his strength. He didn't want to test the strength of the immortal level cultivator. If he was really defeated, he would be crushed by the other party. Therefore, Han Fei used all his trump cards. Han Fei's voice rumbled, "Come and fight me." Gao Yuhua and the other immortal level powerhouse looked at each other. Gao Yuhua had to walk out because he was weaker than that person. At this moment, the 10,000 scale race only existed in name. It was impossible for him to escape. Not to mention him, even the 10,000 scale monarch couldn't escape today. Therefore, if he wanted to live, he had to fight. Gao Yuhua roared, "I'll fight you." A sea of fire appeared on Gao Yuhua's face. Just like Zhao Honghuang, this person also had a chaotic flame. It seemed that people who came back from that mysterious place in the chaotic wasteland were all very good at the Tao of fire. Unfortunately, the extreme cold pearl had been destroyed. Even if it hadn't, it could only shake a carefree level powerhouse at best. It was impossible for it to kill an immortal level cultivator with an ultra-quality godly weapon. Swish. Han Fei instantly disappeared from the spot. Under the effect of the wind, riding smoke that could reach thousands of times the speed of light, in the eyes of others, Han Fei hadn't moved, but in fact, Han Fei had long disappeared. What was left behind was only a residual image, but the speed was so fast that it seemed that Han Fei hadn't moved at all. It was obviously the first time that Han Fei used such a fast speed, so the moment he attacked, the world seemed to have stopped for him. He seemed to be able to see the Tao patterns of speed condensing between the heavens and earth. This isn't the White Cave space? Han Fei discovered that he didn't enter the White Cave space as he expected. This world was still the same as before. The only difference was that an invisible barrier formed by the Tao patterns of speed seemed to have formed. Here, only people who were as fast as Han Fei could sense this barrier. In other words, he created a speed barrier with the wind riding smoke? However, Han Fei discovered that Gao Yuhua moved. In this speed barrier, Gao Yuhua rushed over with a spear. He could also pass through this barrier. This meant that this barrier didn't exist because of him. Or rather, it wasn't exactly a barrier, but a phenomenon, similar to light explosion or a space. Like the White Cave space. This was the result of all cultivators' speed reaching the limit. Everyone who could reach this speed would enter a space phenomenon similar to a spiritual barrier. For those who were not strong enough, the battle hadn't happened yet, but those with strong perception could already see their battle situation at this moment. At this moment, Gao Yuhua brandished his spear and created a long fiery dragon, and Han Fei launched the formless infinity sword. Bang! Rumble! The flames were rising and burning hundreds of thousands of kilometers away in an instant, and the scorching waves of fire extended nearly 1,000,000 kilometers. In Han Fei's origin star, no one could see what happened here. They only saw that the void instantly turned into a sea of fire. Even among the monarchs who were watching, the Tao-proving level powerhouses could only see the real bodies of Han Fei and Gao Yuhua when they were fighting. At this time, the residual images of Han Fei and Gao Yuhua had not disappeared, so everyone saw that in that space, 2 Han Fei and 2 Gao Yuhua appeared at the same time. Bang! 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 As the two collided more and more times, the sky was full of images of their residual images, as if countless Han Fei and countless Gao Yuhua were fighting. It was not until this moment that the afterimages they left behind gradually disappeared. It could be said that anyone below the Tao-proving level would be shocked to see this scene. They didn't even understand why this phenomenon happened. Only the truly strong had the ability to ignore the afterimages and see the real battle between the two. At this moment, in the eyes of the monarchs, Gao Yuhua was crushed in speed. Yes, Gao Yuhua couldn't keep up with Han Fei's speed in this kind of short, fast and frequent battle, but wasn't much slower. However, in a battle of the strong, the slightest difference could make a huge difference. Even if Han Fei was only faster than Gao Yuhua by 1 light speed, he was still faster. Therefore, although the two of them were fighting fiercely, when Gao Yuhua was hit 10 times, Han Fei was hit 7 or 8 times at most. The 1,000,000-kilometer-long sky was no longer large enough for the two of them to fight. Sometimes, Han Fei and Gao Yuhua broke out of the ice and fought above the ice. In the next second, the two of them fought their way back to the chaotic wasteland. Sometimes, the two of them would crush each other on the ground of the chaotic wasteland, causing the seabed to collapse and everything to shatter wherever they passed. From time to time, the two of them used great techniques to fight head-on, forming explosive ripples that swept into the city of scavengers, causing the earth to tremble and the mountains to shake, and sand and stones to fly everywhere. After such a crazy battle lasted for about 10 minutes, Han Fei realized that he couldn't kill an immortal-level cultivator with his current strength. He forcibly improved his strength to this level, while the other party was a true carefree-level monarch. Even if he had the double-kill technique, it was useless. Gao Yu's soul power and physique were very strong, and he could completely withstand the power of the Ragnarok. After 100 seconds, Han Fei felt that his strength had declined by about 5%. At this moment, he knew that he couldn't attack casually anymore. If this battle went on for another hour, the result would be reversed, and he would be completely crushed by Gao Yuhua. Clang! With a loud bang, Han Fei was blasted back 1,000,000 kilometers by the spear, setting off a huge tide that approached the city of scavengers. The tiger demon pushed forward with one hand, and the entire city was enveloped by an invisible force, and surging tides surged in all directions. At this moment, Han Fei stood still, and Gao Yuhua appeared immediately. At this moment, Gao Yuhua put on a smile and said, as the current human emperor, "You may have a lot of means and treasures, but you are not at the immortal level after all. You can't understand the full power of the immortal level. You can't win without other means." Han Fei twisted his neck, and the power of the demon god in his body dimmed a little. With a thought, a skinny corpse appeared in front of him. The Grand Elder and Elder Fire Spear of the Lava Giants and the other lava giants in Han Fei's origin star all rose. Ancestor? They hadn't used the power of this ancient human to date. It was useless in the small primordial fragment. At this moment, when they saw the corpse of the ancient human, they couldn't help but be surprised. They even had a trace of anticipation. They really wanted to know what secrets the ancient human had. When Gao Yuhua saw the corpse, his expression changed slightly. Did he still have a trump card? Without further ado, Han Fei simply said, "So what if I bully you for not having enough treasures? No matter what, you won't be able to leave today." Han Fei took out a drop of essence blood and put it between the eyebrows of the ancient corpse with the secret method taught by the Grand Elder. Buzz! All of a sudden, the power covering tens of millions of kilometers in this world suddenly disappeared. This phenomenon was terrifying. The 10,000 scale monarch and the tiger demon immediately changed their expression. Too many monarchs had died here today, so the energy in this world was beyond imagination. However, almost immediately, everything here returned to calm. The blood-stained sky and the void that seemed to be covered in blood returned to normal in the blink of an eye. Not only that, but hundreds of holes that connected to the endless void suddenly appeared. In these holes, infinite energy was quickly drawn in and absorbed by the corpse of the primordial human at an unbelievable speed. Han Fei was a little stunned himself at this moment. He knew that the ancient human race was strong, but as old Han and the others had said, the ancient human race relied more on bloodlines, magic weapons, and extraordinary talents to become strong. Therefore, Han Fei had thought that this ancient human was only at the immortal level. But from the looks of it, could an immortal level cultivator absorb the energy of so many monarchs in an instant? Gao Yuhua's face changed drastically, and he retreated quickly. He said, "This is your human emperor path. What's the point of you relying on external help?" Han Fei chuckled. "If you have the ability, go borrow an external force too. This is my opportunity. You can consider it my trump card." "Why does it have nothing to do with me?" Ka ka ka. The corpse's neck suddenly twisted and he slowly raised his head. Everyone saw that the shriveled body of this person was rapidly expanding. Upon seeing this, Gao Yuhua's eyes suddenly flashed. No matter what this corpse was, it had clearly not recovered yet. If he could penetrate it at this moment, he might be able to survive. Swish. At this moment, Gao Yuhua's qi and blood were burning. He thrust his spear forward, followed by a strange flame. Han Fei wanted to block the full blow of the immortal level powerhouse, but he saw from the corner of his eye that the ancient human had slightly opened his eyes. For some reason, he didn't attack. In the next second, the spear seemed to suddenly be stuck, without raising a single ripple. When he looked again, he saw that the primordial human had actually bitten the spearhead with his teeth. And the tide of chaotic strange flames that followed was absorbed by the corpse of the primordial human. Gao Yuhua was horrified and wanted to retreat, but his body seemed to be sucked and he couldn't move at all. After a full 3 seconds, when the ancient human transformed from a corpse into a solemn-looking middle-aged man, he suddenly opened his mouth. Crunch. Han Fei's eyes almost popped out. An ultra-quality godly weapon was bitten to pieces? Gao Yuhua's spear was definitely an ultra-quality godly weapon. He had discovered it during the battle. Han Fei could believe that a treasure of this level was broken, but who would have thought that it would be chewed to pieces? Huff. A pillar of fire shot out of his mouth, enveloping Gao Yuhua in an instant. Ah! In the pillar of fire, Gao Yuhua's painful cry spread throughout the world. Everyone could even see that his gray human figure was disappearing in the pillar of fire as if he had been burned into ashes. The pillar of fire lasted for about 5 seconds. When the pillar of fire died down, Gao Yuhua was nowhere to be seen. Rumble. A huge great Dao crack appeared in the sky. It was the sign of the death of an immortal-level powerhouse. Huff. The primordial human opened his mouth and sucked. The great Dao crack that had just appeared flashed and disappeared. The sky returned to normal. Gulp. Han Fei couldn't help swallowing. Were the ancient humans so strong? Not just Han Fei, everyone except Old Han and Jiang Linxian was dumbfounded. Was it that simple to kill an immortal-level monarch? If this person hadn't been awakened by Han Fei, Li Luoluo, and the Queen of Horror would have thought that they could run away now. How could they fight this person? No one would believe that an immortal-level powerhouse was blown to death by a single breath. There was a trace of confusion in the middle-aged man's eyes. He slowly got up, his body making clicking sounds. He looked around, but his eyes were locked on Old Han and Jiang Linxian. Old Han shook his head slightly, thinking that it really didn't feel good to be watched like this. Because the middle-aged man looked at Old Han and Jiang Linxian, everyone else looked over. Old Han thought for a moment and pointed at Han Fei. Well, my son is the current human emperor, not me. The middle-aged man then looked at Han Fei up and down, closed his eyes slightly, and slowly said, "Where is this? Where is the primordial world?" Han Fei paused and said, "Senior, this is the age of C. It's been about 60 million years since the end of the primordial era." More than 60 million years? It turns out that I have been dead for more than 60 million years. The middle-aged man seemed to be in a daze, and Han Fei discovered that a large amount of vitality and energy were escaping from the middle-aged man's body. This meant that when this person's vitality completely dissipated, he would really die. Han Fei finally understood what the drop of blood of the ancient human was. 4. It was the last vitality of this ancient human. The middle-aged man knew that his vitality was escaping, but he didn't seem to care. He looked at Han Fei for a while and then looked in the direction of the city of scavengers, where billions of humans were fighting the 10,000 scale race. The middle-aged man frowned slightly. Are human beings so weak now? Han Fei hurriedly said, to this day, the human race has already declined. In the ancestral land, there are very few people who can reach the sky opening realm. The previous human emperor left the ancestral land but was plotted Against by the 10,000 scale race, causing our billions of humans to be enslaved by the 10,000 scale race for 100,000 years. This race treats us humans like livestock. Now that I've risen, I certainly should wipe them out. The middle-aged man looked back at Gu Tingnan as if he knew who the former human emperor was at a glance. But he only glanced at him and didn't pay much attention to him. It seemed that Gu Tingnan wasn't worthy of his attention. He sized up Han Fei again and said indifferently, "Not bad. No wonder you're so full of killing intent. Did you kill those little guys in the law comprehension realm just now? Law comprehension realm?" He should be talking about the monarchs, the great Dao cracks, and the power dissipating after these people died had all been swallowed by this person. Without looking, he had inferred the cause and effect. Han Fei nodded. Yes. The middle-aged man looked at Han Fei up and down again. Your spiritual heritage is very strong, and your bloodline is poor. Did someone remove your bloodline? The middle-aged man looked at Han Guangqiu and Jiang Linxian again, but both of them only showed a faint smile, which many people found strange. This middle-aged man looked very strong. Why was he looking at the two of them who was only a Dao prover and a perfected star transformation realm cultivator? For a moment, everyone began to doubt the identities of Han Guangqiu and Jiang Linxian. The middle-aged man seemed to understand something, so he nodded. All right. Let's have a try. At least after law comprehension, your bloodline will undergo a qualitative change. Perhaps there will be some unexpected effects. Han Fei? Han Fei didn't quite understand what happened to his bloodline. He knew that his bloodline had been extracted by old Han and his mother, but he didn't find it surprising at that time. He thought that the bloodline was extracted to improve his spiritual heritage. However, it didn't seem to be the case. There must be a secret behind it. After this battle, he had to ask old Han about it. The middle-aged man finally looked at the 10,000 scale monarch, but the latter was already scared. Who was this person? He had swallowed all the energy in this world and the laws and vitalities of all the dead monarchs. Was it any different from swallowing this world? The 10,000 scale monarch asked solemnly, "Who are you? Your vitality has been dissipating so badly. I'm afraid you won't live long if you attack me." The middle-aged snorted. Are the immortal level cultivators nowadays so rude? How dare an ant enslave our human race? Have the myriad races forgotten the era when our human race dominated the chaotic era? Everyone was dumbfounded. Immortal level? Wasn't the 10,000 scale monarch a great monarch? He wasn't at the immortal level. Also, why did he call an immortal level cultivator an ant? Also, the human race had once dominated the chaotic era? This made the expressions of the Queen of Horror, Li Luoluo, the Tiger Demon, and the others change. They knew of the chaotic era, but they didn't know how powerful the human race was back then. The legendary chaotic era was an era where treasures were everywhere. Thinking about it, Han Fei added, "Senior, there were some changes to the cultivation realms of the past. That person is now called a great monarch. And the one you just killed is at the immortal level currently." Huh? The middle-aged man frowned slightly. Ridiculous. They haven't fully fused with laws yet. How can they be called immortals? Forget it. It seems that due to the influence of tea, the myriad races have weakened. Han Fei didn't know what to say. You're the big shot, so you have the final say. This was the first person to comment on the myriad races like this. He even directly questioned the current realm setting. However, Han Fei remembered what he said, law fusion. Why did it sound so similar to Dao fusion? Did one have to fuse with the Dao first if he wanted to become a great monarch? Or should he fuse with the laws after comprehending them? He wouldn't have a chance to pursue this problem until he proved Dao. The other immortal level powerhouse glanced at the 10,000 scale monarch and thought to himself, do you want me to fight him alone at a time like this? He's obviously not someone to be trifled with. The middle-aged man seemed to be thinking about something. After thinking for a few seconds, he said, your human emperor path is still a little lacking. But to be able to reach this point, you can be considered a top heavenly talent even in the past. With your current strength, you probably won't be able to kill this law fusion realm and the immortal realm cultivators. The middle-aged man heaved a sigh. Fine. Anyway, I've been dead for many years. It seems that I can only leave the future human race to you. Open your mind. Han Fei quickly opened his mind, and the middle-aged man reached out and pressed on Han Fei's head. But in the next moment, in Han Fei's mind, the demon purification pot suddenly spun, trying to shake the middle-aged man away. This is... Han Fei hurriedly controlled the demon purification pot. Master Calabash, he is on our side. Don't move. As if understanding Han Fei's meaning, the demon purification pot fell silent. And the middle-aged man smiled for the first time. He laughed. After billions of years, you've finally returned to the hands of our human race. Interesting. Soul, come. In the next moment, Han Fei felt that his soul was extracted. When he came back to himself, he found that his body was standing on the side, and he had entered the middle-aged man's body. However, Han Fei couldn't control this body. He could only watch as a spectator. The middle-aged man raised his head, his eyes shining. In the next moment, he roared, Law, come. As the middle-aged man roared, the ice above the chaotic wasteland cracked. And strange patterns appeared out of thin air between the heavens and earth in the entire chaotic wasteland before disappearing. In the middle-aged man's place, endless Tao patterns appeared. Those who were here felt that the power of various laws had suddenly descended without any warning. These laws weren't adopted by the middle-aged man. Instead, they melted each other and weren't absorbed by the middle-aged man until they turned invisible. Fuse laws on the spot? The 10,000 scale monarch and the tiger demon couldn't help but clench their fists. The middle-aged man was about to spend several seconds completing a task that normally required countless years and understanding. Wu Shuang asked, My queen, what is this senior doing? The Queen of Horror said solemnly, as he said, Law fusion, the true kind of law fusion, the kind of law fusion, with which one can become a god. Become a god? Hiss. For a moment, everyone who heard the Queen of Horror's explanation widened their eyes. Someone would become a god right in front of them? In the middle-aged man's body, Han Fei heard him say, as one of the 6 ancient races, the human race are adapted to all laws. What is a law? A law originates from the world and takes from nature. Humans are good at using laws. When humans and laws become one, they will have a law body. Those with a law body will live forever. When laws and the body fuse, one can ascend to the heavenly Tao. The path ahead of you hasn't been paved. You need to explore. It yourself. That's all I can teach you. At this moment, the 10,000 scale monarch panicked. Of course, he knew what the middle-aged man was doing. He was stepping into the god domain. If he stepped into it, he would definitely die. Therefore, at this moment, the 10,000 scale monarch chose to attack directly. As for the immortal level powerhouse, seeing that the 10,000 scale monarch took action, he immediately attacked with all his strength. At the beginning of the battle, he ignited his bloodline, summoned a dead branch, which was a spiritual treasure of heaven and earth, and activated a divine technique. As for the 10,000 scale monarch, his body suddenly expanded by 1,000,000 feet, more than 3 times larger than the limit of Hanfei's Dharma idol. All the scales on his body left his body and darted towards the middle-aged man. Halfway through, these scales gathered and turned into a huge wheel that was 1,000,000 feet wide. Even so, the 10,000 scale monarch didn't dare to underestimate his enemy. He crushed 2 of his fingers and guided them with his blood. Tao. Patterns of laws appeared in the void and sank into the huge wheel. The 10,000 scale monarch roared, "Divine technique, 10,000 scale. Divine wheel." The attack was horrifying. As the attack was launched, an unprecedented tide was set off by the seawater. As the giant tide rolled, the ice layer above their heads rose and rolled like a rolling snow tide. At this moment, it seemed that there was only this huge wheel left in the world, driving the power of the entire sea. This blow arrived in front of the middle-aged man in just a second. Before that, the full blow of the immortal level powerhouse had already landed in front of the middle-aged man. However, to his surprise, various Tao pattern chains appeared in the void around the middle-aged man. The full-strength strike of the immortal level powerhouse was clasped by hundreds of Tao pattern chains and exploded. This time it was the middle-aged man's counterattack, but no one could see his attack. After all, it was beyond everyone's understanding that he could control the great Tao chains at will. Wasn't this an ability that only the heavenly Tao in this world could have? Why could this power be controlled by humans? After dealing with the full blow of the immortal level powerhouse, the 10,000 scale divine will had already arrived in front of the middle-aged man. The latter just raised his hand and pushed it horizontally. This full blow of a great monarch that seemed to carry the huge force of the sea was actually blocked. Shook Mountain Kunlun with one hand and stroked the world with the other. Han Guanshu said leisurely, "What a pity. If he were still alive, he would be like us now. What a pity." Jiang Linxian also sighed softly. Too many people died back then. Almighties. All went to the end of the Sea of Stars to destroy the ominous. He should also be one of them, but for some reason, he returned with his remnant body. Unfortunately, this is the last time he can bloom. Ah. The 10,000 scale monarch was crazy. He knew that he would die if he didn't try his best at this moment. Therefore, in order to survive, he burned his vitality crazily, and his blood and qi covered the sky. He spat out a golden scale from his mouth. As he pulled with both hands, the golden scale turned into a golden spear, and the 10,000 scale monarch forcibly fused nearly half of his soul power into it. God-slaying art, spear of destiny. The moment the spear appeared, the middle-aged man turned his head and snorted. "This is a good move, but unfortunately, you don't understand. I am the heavenly Tao, and your life is up to me." Suddenly, the middle-aged man clasped his hand and forcibly stopped the spinning 10,000 scale divine wheel. The kinetic energy, in that instant, with the middle-aged man as the center, hit the city of scavengers before it was blocked by the tiger demon standing in the city of scavengers. An oscillating ripple spread tens of millions of kilometers away, still shockingly powerful. This meant that this was no longer a simple battle at the great monarch level. When the enormous 10,000 scale divine wheel was stopped by the middle-aged man, he said, "Tao patterns, open the way for me. I'm the heavenly Tao. I hereby grant you divine tribulations." This sound shook the entire world, floating in the sky of the chaotic wasteland. Rumble. A super vortex that spanned 1,000,000 kilometers suddenly appeared, shattering the ice above everyone's heads. In this vortex, thunder rumbled endlessly. The winding lightning was like heavenly dragons that were ready to strike down at any time. Roar. An extraordinary green and purple heavenly vine-like lightning bolt that seemed to have the power to destroy the world fell on the 10,000 scale divine wheel first. With just one bolt, the wheel exploded, and only less than 1/5 of the billions of scales were intact under this extraordinary lightning bolt. The others were either annihilated or shattered. Boom. It was as if the eternal thunder jail had appeared. It contained billions of bolts of lightning, which not only shattered the remaining scales, but also bombarded the spear of destiny. Crack. With one blow, the spear of destiny broke. Puff. The 10,000 scale monarch was pale and vomited blood all over his body. Rumble. After the lightning turned purple, the spear of destiny finally couldn't withstand the next divine tribulation and collapsed on the spot. The 10,000 scale monarch vomited blood, but his face was full of unwillingness. Is this the power of a divine tribulation? The 10,000 scale monarch had only weathered through 2 divine tribulations, but he was already covered in wounds and dripping with blood. In the end, when the 3rd round of divine tribulations came, the 10,000 scale monarch only had half of his soul left. How could he resist this terrifying divine tribulation? Furthermore, he felt that this power was not as simple as a divine tribulation. He discovered that these so-called divine tribulations were only the combination of the power of the chaotic wasteland. He wasn't even sure if this was a divine tribulation or the power of the middle-aged man himself. Anyway, his only thought at the moment was that he probably couldn't survive this disaster. During the 3rd divine tribulation, the 10,000 scale monarch was forced to transcend the tribulation. Yes, he had no choice, because if he didn't transcend it, he would die. At that moment, the 10,000 scale monarch took out the trump card he had accumulated in the past, a scale armor battle suit. It was a chaotic spiritual treasure-level armor that he had spent 66,000 years weaving and forging. However, after only 1 round of lightning strikes, the armor was already tattered and was directly blown up on the spot. Then, he was forced to take out a fire elemental Tao painting, but it was also destroyed by the 3rd divine tribulation. Even so, the power of the 10,000 scale monarch's soul was baptized. His entire body was trembling, and he was hugging his head crazily. Han Fei's heart sank. He had thought to use the divine tribulations to deal with the 10,000 scale monarch, but now it seemed that even if he used them, he wouldn't be able to kill the 10,000 scale monarch. At most, he would be heavily injured. The middle-aged man's voice sounded in Han Fei's mind. This tribulation is the door to the heavenly Tao. It's the only path to reach the heavenly Tao. However, you can't cross this path by force. You have to pass the tribulation. first. Otherwise, you will be ruthlessly crushed by the Tao of heaven like him. When the third divine tribulation dissipated, everyone could tell that the 10,000 scale monarch was dead for sure. As for the immortal level powerhouse, he didn't have any other thoughts but to run. Whether he could escape or not, he had to run while everyone's gaze was on the 10,000 scale monarch. However, the middle-aged man certainly wouldn't let him go. When the man was about to leave, the middle-aged man summoned a wisp of the remaining power of the divine tribulation and flicked his finger. The door to the void exploded. And so did the immortal level who escaped. Rumble. How could an immortal level monarch survive a divine tribulation? Just a wisp of the power of the divine tribulation had taken his life. However, at this moment, no one cared about him. This middle-aged man was too powerful. He could even summon a divine tribulation and even control it. Even a great monarch could only struggle at death's door. How could a mere immortal level cultivator escape under his nose? At the moment when the immortal level monarch died, Han Fei intuitively felt that he had gone further on the human emperor path, which surprised him. Was it because his soul was in the middle-aged man's body now? Perhaps this middle-aged man pulled his soul into his body to complete the human emperor path for him? His vitality dissipated too seriously, and he was about to die, so he placed his hope on Han Fei. Han Fei thought to himself, is this considered cheating? Although he had some ideas before, he wasn't absolutely sure that he could really reach the peak of the human emperor path. His original plan was to kill the two immortal level powerhouses and try to kill the 10,000 scale monarch with divine tribulations if he had a chance. But now, the situation was no longer under his control. He had never thought that this powerhouse of the ancient human race would be resurrected. He only thought that this was at most an unconscious combat puppet. At this moment, the 10,000 scale monarch couldn't hold on anymore. His body had already begun to explode, his flesh and blood couldn't remain gathered, and his soul began to dissipate in large numbers. Just like the middle-aged man, the 10,000 scale monarch's vitality dissipated wantonly and couldn't be taken back at all. However, the 10,000 scale monarch seemed to be dying, and the middle-aged man was not any better. Although Han Fei didn't know how long he could live, his vitality had dissipated so badly that he seemed to be dying at any time.